Hello, everybody, and welcome to Best in the West, the League of Legends show talking all about the LEC. I am Lord Voldemort, and with me here is my loyal servant, Severus Snape. Back to back to hosting this the League of Legends show for you. We were absent last week, kind of miscommunication. I was also sick, but now we're back talking about what has been kind of a chaotic week yet again in the LEC. I thought of this a few days ago, and I thought I'm gonna use this one, but I see you're enjoying it as well. Veteran, how are you doing?
I'm
Especially
doing good,
after,
Voldy.
yeah,
Loving the beard, loving the beard.
yeah, it's always been there. So I'm not sure if you're just noticing it now or.
It's just I've never seen Voldemort with a beard before.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a therapy. I'm trying, just to
mm, mm,
look a little less menacing. I'm also growing a nose again. It's
sure.
yeah, it's working out
Now you
well.
can grow hair on the other side of the head, right?
There's nothing I can do about this. Trust me. I've tried so many things. There's no
Nice.
potion that can work the magic up there. But yeah, another week of chaos in the LEC. The standings are unbelievably close. The only team that's locked into playoffs at the moment is Mad Lions. They're guaranteed a spot up there. The only team that's out of playoffs is BDS. Then they've been out of it for a while. But besides that, we have G2, Misfits, Rogue, and Vitality all at a 9 and 6 score. Astralis, Excel, and Fnatic at 7 and 8. And then there's SK at 6 and 9. Everything is still possible in terms of making playoffs or not. And it's gonna be a banger weekend next weekend. But how are you feeling about the LEC overall and the Clown Fiesta that
Man,
it
I've
is?
seen this before actually. Like I previously I remember seeing Fnatic Misfits on the last week, being the game that mattered, and Misfits literally like had the exposed Nexus and couldn't close it, and they had that twice against them, that split. So I remember you tweeting like a few weeks back, Misfits v Fnatic final day for playoffs.
Yes.
Um, I don't think that'll happen, but I think an XL Fnatic equivalent of that is somewhat likely to happen at this point.
Yeah.
Um, this is assuming Australis are still in the game. Like, I mean, assuming Australis are kind of out of the game at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I do assume will happen. I hate that. Like, well, I mean, we discussed weeks ago, right, about whether the standings being close is generally going to be good or bad,
Yeah.
and I've kind of leaned in towards bad. I feel like with this week, it was quite depressing the way games were being decided.
Yeah.
Um, there weren't that many like interesting map things happening, and it was more like so and so is extended solo. So and so wanted to montage move out the Rift Herald pit rather than just play like a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Like this kind of stuff is how games are getting decided. Otherwise it was complete fiestas.
Yeah.
I don't really like that. It does benefit, like for example, Misfits, who have leaned back into the late game scaling style that they were doing last split, right?
Yeah.
So teams that are strong at team fighting are getting a lot of benefit off of this.
Yeah.
Or teams like Mad that define themselves by playing with like skirmishing and globals in mind, they're able to catch people out really well. But
Yeah.
like overall, you just see the best skirmishing teams top three, and
Yeah.
and that's what's going to happen when things get scrappy.
Yeah, well, I also tweeted during the games on Saturday. I've just embraced that we're probably not going to make it out of groups with any teams if they play like this, because even Mad Lions, who before this week everyone's praising, okay, they're clearly the best team, they have such a clear pattern of winning their games with pushing mid out, then roaming with Niski and Oyoya and establishing a lead there, but they went 0-2 last week. So it's if at this point teams are gonna go to Worlds, I'm very confident that we're just gonna get clapped by China and Korea. Obviously, we still have playoffs, and perhaps the Worlds patch is gonna do something magical, but it's not looking very good so far. So I'm just warning the EU viewers: maybe don't expect too much from EU this year
Like
at
I
Worlds.
get to live in pure ignorance by not watching China or Korea. I get to live in complete ignorance.
Yeah,
They could be a complete shit show for all I know, or they could be the second coming of Christ. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm in that. It's quantum locked for me. Until I
mm.
observe it, they're not actually good or bad.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was away until
Schrodinger's
Worlds, you know.
Schrodinger's ass kicking we're gonna get. Like until you open the box, it's either happening or not. Um, but yeah,
Go to Dom or someone for your cross-regional analysis. I don't fucking know. All right,
I
no,
mean,
I can relate to.
LPL is looking sick. Korea has, I mean, Genji is incredible. But this is an LEC show, so we're gonna talk about LEC teams. And I don't know if there's any specific team that you want to start us off with, or any
I never
specific
want to start off
game.
with specific teams. I always
Yeah.
want to start off with like narratives. I mean, I guess we
Okay.
could. I mean,
We,
okay.
we
How
can we
about
can do we can do narrative. So I posted a tweet yesterday, I think,
cool?
because somebody has run all the scenarios and all the odds and the outcomes. So Mad Lions obviously locked for playoffs and they're guaranteed the top six. They're also in almost half of the cases are gonna make it in first place if assuming every game is just a 50-50, which it might as well be at this point. Fnatic in most scenarios is not gonna make playoffs. If you assume
Oh, we've seen it before. We've seen it
50-50.
before.
Excel, because they've been on a bit of a loss streak, 4 games in a row now. They have one scenario in which they end in first place, and in most scenarios they also don't make playoffs. So it's wide open, and the crazy thing is because everything is so close, there are 3 teams at the moment who can finish first and ninth. So that's the spectrum of range that they have heading into the final weekend. If they win everything, and obviously they need a few other things to go in their way, they'll end in first place. If they lose everything and a few other things go against them, they can end still in ninth place. So it's complete mayhem. And I'm not sure if there is any particular narrative other than it's just a complete shit show. Within the teams, perhaps you can say there's a bit of a trend, but
I mean, summer has a level of importance to. I mean, well, I've always been one of those guys that say you should just get rid of like spring league entirely and just do a tournament system for spring, right? You can open spring up to like other tournament sponsors, etc. You can do points that determine whether you're in LEC Summer, but if you want to keep franchising for LEC Summer anyway, then instead what you do with those points is that they count towards like international, etc. Right?
sure.
Or maybe you could even do like still have MSI, but just dictate who goes MSI by points in those tournaments, right? Something like this. I prefer opening up spring. The current way that you have it, in spring, you get a lot of like early starters, and in summer, you kind of understand how their play styles work or don't work over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
How the actual philosophy of the team is going to work in the long run, and that's what matters the most, because even if you just did summer, you have to understand how they work in the long run to understand how they'll work at Worlds, right?
Yeah.
So what we're seeing is it's I was so sad when we got like the Razork interviews early in this split, right?
Yeah.
Because last split, I still thought when it got to playoffs that Razork and Selfmade looked like the best 2 junglers there because I was not delusional about Malrung, alright? I bet you idiots feel stupid now.
I have to admit, as somebody who was high on Malrang, and I still think he did it very effectively, in the past weeks, he has fallen from grace quite a bit.
It's just a coincidence that things gradually tends to where I said they were. But in Razork's case, not so much. So Razork gave a bunch of interviews this split. Was it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
where
said,
he was.
I'm just gonna do what my team needs me to do, and yeah.
Yes. So Fnatic had kind of broken him down in that sense. And there was definitely a pervading sense that that would be good because Razork got undue criticism in spring, even though he's making objectively good moves. He was getting a lot of undue criticism because there's a lot of people who believe that Fnatic should be a bot-centric, upset-based team. And
Fnatic believes that. That's how they play.
yeah. I mean, this isn't something that's just coming out of the ether, right? Like,
Yeah.
Fnatic themselves have been an upset-based team. Upset definitely believes he should be on an upset-based team the whole time. Like, they had now gotten the jungler who was doing really well on Misfits because he was allowed to play the whole map and not just play around any individual person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in spring, they kept playing like that. He was making objectively good decisions, but people still thought that he should be playing more for team, whatever the fuck that means. And Fnatic finally convinced him that that should be the case. And
Yeah.
I think right now you're seeing what happens when you do that. When you don't have a jungler that plays a complete map, when the laners win the argument. If you remember that discussion we were having in the previous
Yep.
episode. And it doesn't go well, right? Like, some people have been saying that like humanoid collapsing shows that maybe Elyoya Kaiser were like the big points. I saw that on Reddit threads
Really?
about them, but it's like
Oh
yes,
my
on
god.
post-match threads on Reddit people were saying that, but it's like they've proven that they need a mid laner to perform really well overall anyway. It's
Yeah,
not that
that's
simple.
literally
It's
why
just
they got
yeah.
Nisky. So, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a symbiotic relationship, but you've
Mm-hmm.
broken apart mid jungle by making jungle this thing that it shouldn't necessarily be. Everyone's trying to be Yankos now, rather than trying to be brilliant junglers in
The
their
good
own right.
dog, the good boy.
Yeah, but Yankos has so much experience. He's been in
Mm-hmm.
so many of these situations that he can somewhat pull them off. But also, G2's slumps have a lot of the time been because this kind of jungle playstyle is only really incidentally good
Yeah.
rather than really, really strong. But in a league where everyone's trying to imitate that jungle style, Yankos will end up being the best, but it will put us in a very bad position when it comes to worlds, right? I think with Fnatic, they had the chance to have a complete team and they looked really, really good on that last split. I don't think it was their play style that was ruining them last split. I think they should have stuck with it. I think the breaking down the Razork has kind of destroyed them. And ultimately, it's what you fuckers wanted, not me, demanding on all the Reddit threads and Twitter and shit. And there, now you've got it. All right, there you go. You guys are basically managers of Fnatic, and I hate the way that it's gone because this team should be so much better. This is basically a super team we're looking at there.
Mm-hmm.
And they really looked like it in spring, but the more that they ended up all inning on their philosophy, the worse that they look because their
Yeah.
philosophy is dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that like the best Fnatic has looked is when they weren't trying so hard to focus on one style, but they were a bit more adaptable. We saw this split as
Yeah.
well. I think it was week 5? Could be week 5, where Resork and Wound were playing super well together, and we praised them and we said this is an insane duo, and
Mm-hmm.
they were playing well. But now you see, and I think we discussed this in a previous episode as well, where we see as soon as one small thing falls apart, the team doesn't know how to recover, and you can see
Yeah.
everything just falling apart. And this isn't the team that's going to be adaptable, and you can see in the plays they're making as well when things go awry, that it's it's just they don't have the trust in each other. You know,
Yeah.
I see Wunder teleporting in and none of his teammates following. I see Humanoid moving to one side and nobody's there to catch him or like help him with the chasing enemy. You know, like stuff like
Yeah.
this. Like, okay, it's as if they're saying to each other, "Well, you messed up. Good luck. I'm gonna focus on myself, so I can maybe pull something back." But it's obviously a team game. Um,
I mean, I didn't think they'd do that well in summer. Like, my
mhm,
initial prediction was that it would be Fnatic winning spring and Vitality winning summer, so long as Vitality kept the same lineup.
mhm.
Um, Vitality are actually doing well now, but it was very delayed because they changed their lineup, and
Yeah.
also, honestly, a lot because the rest of the league looks so. This is not a happy episode.
No.
Looks so bad.
No.
But like, I didn't expect them to fall off this hard or something. I
Mhm.
wasn't thinking like, oh, Fnatic are going to be out of playoffs. We've never seen Fnatic out of playoffs
Nope.
still. There was one point where they were threatening to do so. It was a Nemesis lineup, and that was the Misfits
That was
thing
the
we were
Misfits game.
referencing
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
And they
now this
clutch in at
lineup.
5th or something, and then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel real to me. This still feels like I'm gonna see XL Astralis drop before I see Fnatic drop. But also at the same time, like even in XL's losses, well, the BDS loss was just a shit show. But like in the loss to G2, I still saw some very intelligent five-man things that XL were doing on the map. And I haven't seen anything like that for Fnatic, right?
No,
There isn't something to
it's
grab
still
hold of there.
individuals. It's still individuals. Yeah.
Yes, and yet I still feel like Fnatic will make it in somehow, but that's probably just because
Really,
of
I'm kind of out on them, to be honest.
years of it, you know? It's just years of I've seen this before, you
Yeah.
know? I've seen them be like, wow, Fnatic could really not make it this split, and then they just randomly get top two or win the split or some shit. Like,
I mean,
it's
crazy.
happened sometimes.
To consider it actually crazy. Like I think it's like a 60% chance that they aren't making it. So
Yeah.
that's pretty terrible. Uh
Oh man, I don't know. God blesses this org sometimes, but you know they did dabble in NFTs this year, so you know I think they lost that favor with the
yeah.
Almighty.
Hang on, this
Ah,
for
it really blows.
yeah.
I mean, Excel,
65% chance that they don't make it, yeah. No.
65%. I mean,
60
so 65% of scenarios they don't make it, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. But that's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, given like I'm pretty inclined to say, given how coin flippy the league is, that you could just it's closer to 65% than if you were gonna reason with okay, but Fnatic they're playing against Astralis, Vitality, and Misfits. Those are the lineups that they have, right? Like people would argue, okay, but Astralis should be a win for them. I'm not sure if this is a team that's gonna beat Astralis next weekend. You know, like Astralis seems like a team. They're having fun together. They're doing well, and even if they're fucking up, you know, they don't bash on each other. You know, you don't see that. Obviously, they're sad that they lose, but this is a team that recovers very easily. Whereas a Fnatic, they lost against G2, a very important game for them as well. But I did an interview with Wunder last weekend, which hasn't been published yet, but I'll give a little tease. And he said also, like, compared to the previous teams he was in,
Yeah.
losses drag on in this team for so much longer than anything that he's seen
Really?
before. Yeah. So like the
That's
feeling of
interesting to me.
yeah. So like a feeling of a loss isn't shed as easily, and they ended on a loss. And if they lose against Astralis, I think they're just gonna completely
That's
be
really
out.
interesting though, because like Yamato's always being one of those like hype man kind of coaches, right?
Yeah.
Like really big on the emotional aspects of it. And if
But
it's like degrading even with him there, then like it's pretty fucking bad in there, you know?
yeah. I mean, think about it, right? This is a team that has been together for a split and a half now, more than a split and a half, almost two splits, and they haven't seen any progress. They have a few emotional players in there, like Resorg is an emotional player, Upset is an emotional player, and as we said, the game style isn't the play style isn't coming together. So at some point,
And
even
then adding the
if you're maybe if you're winning, even you think, okay, I did this, you know.
yeah.
I was talking to a friend, and it's and he noticed. I think I'm not sure if he was in the studio, but he said even when they won, like their group hug was like socially distancing. It was like
This is the real analysis right
yeah,
here,
yeah,
though.
yeah. But it's
Ironically,
as if
unironically.
as if they're allergic to each other or something like this, right? There must be something that within the team, if they win, they think like, oh yeah, I played a good game this game, without considering maybe you didn't
Dude,
play so well, but as a team you play well together. You know, like that could be the case. It's so tough to say because it's very depressing to watch because as you said, this was a super team
mhm.
coming into the year. Lots of
They
potential.
did really good in spring. Like I don't like saying that like you didn't see progress between spring summer. Maybe only in the sense that they began so strong in spring and it's kind of being a slow decline. But like they did really well in
Yeah,
spring.
no, but
They
I mean, like if you look at the start of the year to where they
yeah
are now,
yeah
like that there is no progress there. They had a period,
yeah
they had a peak, but they regressed again. So
yeah.
no, yeah, it's
I
very
mean,
disappointing.
oh, ironically, by the way, like if you're in the studio and stuff and you're not just seeing the group hugs, I love being in the studio and
Uh,
seeing the faces of players during team fights and map movements and stuff like this. You learn so much from it. I
mm,
used to legit like watch VODs. When prepping for draft, there would always be a period where I would watch VODs and see when the coach was talking or who was talking at points where they were making certain decisions in the draft, and they was very illuminating a lot of the time.
mm,
Um, like that, like unironically, that kind of stuff can tell you a lot.
yeah.
Like I'm not even joking here.
I mean,
Like
like
it really
I'm
does.
not gonna like I'm definitely not equipped to psychoanalyze based on those things. But if you add everything up, you know, certain behavioral patterns are starting to make sense.
Yeah, I ain't even talking about psychoanalysis. You can
Yeah.
learn who the actual shot callers are,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Who the
absolutely, yeah.
team's actually built
Mhm.
around based on
Mhm.
decisions, right?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. That's what was really interesting to me. Not like I can
Well,
tell that this guy has a bad relationship with his
yeah.
mother or something, you know?
uh, yeah, no, I mean what the LCS started experimenting with this weekend is doing live voice com recaps. So in heated moments,
Yeah.
obviously they're gonna filter on any terrible words that players might say. They're probably not gonna say, "Oh, I absolutely got fisted" or something like this. You probably won't hear that back on broadcast.
How much
But
7?
yeah, but something like that would be interesting in the LEC as well, because I like the voice com episodes that they put out and of the teams as well. It's always fun. Like they try to make it lighthearted and fun, but in the
Yeah.
serious moments, it's actually pretty educative, as you said. But yeah,
Oh, this is another thing, by the way. Like, so many. This is an aside from the gameplay stuff. So many comments are being made about like the viewership drop of late,
oh yeah,
and that's just purely because we're moving away from quarantine that's happening.
mm-hmm.
Like,
Of
it
course,
isn't just that people were indoors before. People were indoors and regular sports weren't being played.
mm-hmm.
Esports was one of the only things you could do if you wanted to scratch
Yeah,
that competitive itch before.
yeah. I mean,
So
if you,
obviously there was a reason to drop.
oh yeah, and if you want to compare to anything, compare to 2019 numbers, because that's what
Yes, and it's higher.
that is the comparison that
Yeah.
you should draw, because the last 2 years everybody was inside, everybody had more. You see in readership of articles as well, that viewership was up the past 2 years, and
Yeah.
now it's compared to 2019 ish. So you should really fall back on that. Unfortunately, not everybody has that
By
sense
the
of
way,
perspective.
that
So.
seems random, but I was thinking while you were saying that yeah, but the reason they're doing voice comms for NA is because they're worried about the viewership drops, and that's how I ended
Maybe,
up on that
yeah.
in my head.
Um. So yeah, in terms of the games that Fnatic played, obviously they did pick up a win against SK, and before that they won against BDS. Now these are not the teams you should be proud of beating, obviously, but when everything is so close, I guess a win is a win, and you take it, and
Win is a win. Win is
yeah,
a win.
and it's probably a bit better for team morale than a loss. I don't think that their win against SK was anything amazing, to be honest. Like, oh yeah, I wrote this down about that game. So in the game against Fnatic, Fnatic SK, Fnatic invade their blue. They had the battle level 1, and then what Gillies did, because I think it worked for him against G2 a few weeks ago. What he tried to do was invade their blue buff, like after doing like both junglers. So they Fnatic get SK's blue, then both junglers go back to doing their own blue, and Gillies thinks, haha, but now I can steal your blue, and he gets killed there, and basically the jungle is lost from that point of view. I think he thought, okay, it worked for me against G2. I'm gonna do this again, because I saw him do it a few times actually, where he's just gonna walk into the enemy jungle and see if he can do anything there. But I don't think he quite understands that it was a different scenario, and maybe it worked for him against G2, and now it's not gonna work every single time again. I see you're looking up the.
Yeah, because you said he died, and I don't remember him like dying off the invade. Do you mean like he invaded second blue? Because first blue he doesn't die, but he does end up with like very low jungle CS.
Yeah, hang on. I wrote it down. Oh no, he dies a bit later. Sorry, but yeah, he tries to contest it or something, but yeah. So he didn't die.
Yeah,
Sorry about that, but yeah. Hang on. Are you still watching something, or still?
I'm
Oh
watching,
yeah,
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 but you don't
yeah.
have to put it up.
Oh
If you put it
okay,
up, I
okay.
can talk about it, but I mean, I can talk. For me, this is kind of basic, but
Mm,
like, if you do have it up on the screen,
yeah,
like they do this late invade on Gilius on bot side, right? But look at the composition they have. You have Azir in midsection, you have Cog Lulu bot, and you have Ornn on top side, right? Versus Gnar.
yeah.
So from this situation, you can definitely say that Azir can get hard shove in on Akali. One reason Azir might not want to do that is Akali level 2 is quite strong, but if you have jungler going through at that point, then Akali can't really do anything with that. And given that Gilius will be severely behind on CS, it's not good for Gilius to try to match. So what you can do from here every time, or what you should want to do if you do this kind of invade, is instead of then going into your red side jungle and splitting the map, you go to your top side jungle, because then that chokes Gilius out. This is diagonal jungling. The issue with doing this invade style is that you don't reset your camps as early. But if what your objective is to do is to shut down the enemy jungler entirely, then you diagonal here every time. And that both makes Azir safe, allows Azir to push, and therefore if you go diagonal here, not only do you deny Gillis your topside camp, so if Gillis wants to contest it, Azir can move into the jungle, right? So if you have this situation, but your mid laner can't get priority on mid, or your top laner can't get priority on top, right? One of the two, then, or both have to be true for this, then you don't do this. But otherwise you do this every time. So Razor gets 2 camps, and he goes diagonal. And by going diagonal here, he basically escorts Azir. You can see Azir gets really, if you can see my minimap, you can see Azir gets really aggressive on that push to make sure that he gets crashed on this, and Certus can't really trade back, because for all he knows, Trundle is just oinking right behind him. But because he does this now, even though Gnar is getting priority on top, Azir can lean into jungle here and Gilius invades. Because here it looks really good for Gilius to do it, because Jenax is the way he is, but also Wander has done a trade on Jenax to get him low, so it's not as strong for Jenax to go in. But crucially, Azir can peel off his mid wave at any point to go join this. So Gilius can't extend here like he wants to, because he knows that Azir will make it here, and Azir is in a much better HP situation than Jenax is. Jenax doesn't have Mega Gnar anything, so you can't do any kind of extended play here. But I do like it when I see diagonal jungles, but you have to have the objective to shut down enemy jungler. If you're doing like a hardcore farming jungler, I actually do these days prefer you to just reset your camps earlier, because right now, Razork's only just reset his Gromp. All the other camps are still level 1 camps, right? And he's not going to have a round of level 3, level 4 camps until like 6 minutes in at this point, right? So it's not. I don't like that aspect of this, unless he's going to re-invade on Gromp, which I think he can do with the bot lane that they have here, right?
Yeah.
That will get priority to go and get the second spawn of Gromp, which will be level 3, level 4. But yeah, if your objective is to just remove Gilius, this is a really good way of doing it. And Gilius normally does get ahead by basically cheesing either early level or level 6. He does like a really good gank on that as well. I remember Gilius said a few years back that he doesn't fall into this pattern anymore, yet he's been doing it the whole split again. So I think I don't know. But yeah, so I think it's conceivable that you scout SK and you think we just shut down Gilius and they don't really do much, and Fnatic did that, and I like that. But this is kind of standard if that's what you want to do. So it's not like that interesting. But yeah, Gilius is kind of out of this. I just argue Gilius has no good play, even if he does this or not, right? So it's like, fuck it. If he's gonna flip it for this, he doesn't reset his Raptors, but yeah, like if he doesn't do this, he loses 3 quadrants of the jungle, because Razor will now do top side and go bot side, and you've only farmed 1 quadrant, you know?
Yeah.
So what do? You farm 1 quadrant, you can't really gank mid here, and top's fucking on, so like, yeah, like you can't do anything, you know? Just it's over off the invade, and I like the invade, and I like the idea.
Okay. Well, because my point was, because it seemed to go very wrong, but your point is, even if he hadn't done anything, he still would have been fucked. So
yeah, I respect the attempt.
Okay.
Because he's relying on Razor splitting for bot, and there is a world where he does here. I mean, it's only an Ornn top, right?
Yeah.
And you can play very sacrificial with an Ornn top, so maybe they just want to split map for upset. That's conceivably a strategy here, and Razor was very off map when he went through midsection. So you could also rationally say that he could not be here, but Razor's like, nah, Gilius, the point of this is actually you. See ya.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a version where you invade. Sorry, I'm sorry that I'm going on here, but it's
sure.
I just want to say there's obviously, because some people may already be thinking this. Yes, there's a version here where you invade bot side and you go back to your bot side jungle, but there the purpose isn't to shut down Gilius. The purpose is to shut down enemy bot lane or get your own bot lane ahead, like really hard. One reason why that might not be so good to do here is you would ideally like transition to a dive off of that on bot, and you don't have a very good diving team here, though
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult for. I mean, no, actually, Jesu treats with this amount of summoners could probably survive something like that. But you this like I prefer against SK just shutting down Gilius anyway, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, you could also do just a straight split for bot side, but then the objective is your bot lane and not your jungler, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have your thoughts changed about SK at all? Since in the first weeks you were saying they're not doing anything, and like their strength or like what they're doing well is punishing mistakes sometimes that the enemy makes.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I still think that's true.
yeah,
Yeah, I still think that's true. I still think Certus is quite underrated. Um,
I mean I think the past 2 weeks he's been praised a lot because he's been their carry and he's been popping off on a Silas I think Akali. So yeah, he's doing very well. I think he's catching the eye of many people at the moment, actually.
Maybe I should unmute the cast at some point, actually, because I don't exactly go into Reddit threads of SK gaming games. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
beforehand, definitely it was always difficult to find something to praise about SK. But I thought Certus was doing well even in their losses. Um, but like my overall opinion of SK hasn't really changed much. Just my overall opinion of the rest of the league has gone down quite
Oh
significantly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
So
absolutely. It's we've had weeks in the beginning, especially where it's like, okay, this is looking competitive and this is looking strong.
yeah,
Um, and it seems maybe SK has just been staying consistent, and because the rest
mm,
is just faltering, that they relatively look better. They're in actually a pretty decent position. As I said, they are now 6-9. Nice. And they still have a pretty good shot at making playoffs theoretically. Obviously, their schedule for coming week
yes,
is
that's
Vitality,
amazing.
Vitality XL and G2. So it's not very easy.
Hey,
But
BDS can beat XL, so can you.
that's very very good point actually.
XL understand the Ornn thing actually. Like XL played very sacrificial with Ornn in their game against G2, and they could have easily won off of it, but then
Mm,
they lost. So,
no. Yeah.
actually, we can talk about that because I like XL's kind of
XL
like mini
G2
collapse is interesting. Well,
or
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a gameplay thing I'd like to talk about with that, but
absolutely.
also like, I mean, we can talk about XL in general because like there were
Yeah.
multiple weeks where Patrick for me was like the best AD, and I had to, with our best in the West thing, consciously tell myself not to vote him just because I can't vote for him every week.
Okay.
Nowadays, it's becoming Neon, right? Neon is just like,
Yeah, he's skyrocketing. He's doing super
oof.
well.
And I'm
Um,
very happy for Comp, by the way, because I saw Comp getting a lot of praise, and it's long overdue for him. I thought he got a raw deal with Vitality.
yeah.
So I'm very glad that people are also recognizing that Comp is very, very strong in his own right.
He
Um,
already got high in Spring Split. I think. I think he was like the second bot laner of the like on the second All Pro team, if I'm not
oh, was
mistaken.
he?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Let me look it up
Huh.
actually. All Pro. Well, you go look for this, but I think yeah,
Broken clock's alright twice a day, I guess.
maybe. All Pro team. Yeah, Offset was obviously first. Always gonna happen there. Yeah, he was second in All Pro
Okay.
in spring. So
That's good, that's good.
yeah.
Though I still feel like justice for Lucker is still my motto on that one. It's mind blowing to me that Lucker wasn't starting in spring, man. It's so
uh,
Lucker's so like Lucker had such an unbelievable summer last year, man. And yet I didn't even he wasn't even in like tryout conversations, you know?
oh.
It was insane.
Mm,
Like anyone who watched EU Masters or not EU Masters, anyone who watched the ERLs
yeah.
last summer last summer and last spring knows how insane Lucker legit was like top two
Mm,
AD carry
mm.
overall in the ERLs. There were so many points where I was thinking he's just the best player, you know, straight up. Like he's not on K Corp though, so that like gets you killed. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, he was just straight up. It was mental to watch this guy.
Yeah. All right. So you want to talk about G2 versus XL? This is a game. If people have forgotten or have,
It is a game, yeah.
it is a game, absolutely, and that will conclude the analysis from my part. This was G2 won the game in the end, and let's see. XL played Ornn, Viego, LeBlanc, and Nila and Tarek. So they were the first team to whip out the Nila actually. and
Yes.
pairing it up with Tarek, who is one of the better synergistic champions with her, because
Yes.
obviously the immunity, she can dash and you can apply the stun, and it's all the heals and it's the XP. It's one big feast
This
for.
champion makes Yumi piss broken, by the way. Holy god, it
Yeah,
makes Yumi piss broken.
I mean Yumi is
It's
already
just-
disgusting. And G2 was playing, just to round it up. It was the Sejuani for Broken Blade. Then they had the Jarvan, Silas, Sivir, and Lulu. Um, so yeah, it was a pretty interesting matchup in that regard, because I don't think Sejuani top has done very well. I think this was the first game Sejuani top won. Actually,
Please, Ornn is good into Sedge. Please, like, stop doing this Sedge thing. Ornn is good into Sedge. I saw
well,
some
they blinded Sejuani with Orange still open.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
but I saw this tweet recently, like someone like I think Don was saying that someone in NA had like, or was it in the EU? Someone had like they'd never seen someone lose so hard like Sedge into Ornn or something like this, and I just kept thinking like, but Ornn is good into Sedge,
yeah.
please.
Isn't it that
Um,
early on Sejuani wins the lane, but then Ornn claps back?
no, it's not. Fuck. Wait, I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. Um, oh, it's because you can It's because you can E her. It's because you can W her stun at basically any point with Ornn. So trade should be quite easy for you.
Mm,
To win versus her, and at the same time you can E worst case scenario. So you have ways to dodge two forms of stuns from her. And she like a lot of the fit tools that she uses to actually get her winning trades don't work on you as a result,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I and yeah, and you can punt her on the dash as well. Like it's just the trade should go in Ornn's favor in this matchup straight up. Fuck
yeah.
me. Just to clarify, everybody, I woke up like an hour ago. Okay. Um. But I gave a bigger talk about this in one of our earlier episodes as well on Sejuani. I just get so fucking triggered that I keep seeing like Sedge
Mm,
blind and people be like, "What the fuck? The Ornn team won? Amazing." The
yeah,
only
yeah.
person who has a license to just blind Sedge at this point is irrelevant, and that's A because he's just getting really good at the champ, and B because Misfits just don't really care if you end up winning early or not.
Mm,
Though I'm about to show you an early clip where Excel do well into G2 and they lose the game anyway off the midsection play.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like I really like this aspect that they did with
yeah.
Ornn
Yeah, they did
because
it
you
very well,
can,
and actually, like I'll set up a bit, because I think what you're gonna show is how they try to accelerate their top lane.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they accelerate the top lane here, but the top lane here is like their Nyla, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they've already got this swap done. They did a swap earlier for Herald, but then they kept the 2v2 swap on this side. What I really like is they keep their 2v2 there, but then off of Ornn's shove, they recall Ornn and move him straight top. They completely abandon bot side here. They just don't care about it at all, right? Sejuani's going to get ahead off of this. She's already gotten wave ahead. She's going to continue to push further ahead on this. She's going to get plates on the bot tower, but their whole objective is to play top side and accelerate the game here. And they
Mm-hmm.
know Ornn is going to be useful even if he falls behind in economy to Sejuani. So it's all about sure your setup's good here, but we care about the aspects of the game other than the setup. So this, I think, is really good tank play from them. They're already sending Finn top, Finn's top, Finn's top, Finn's top, Finn's top now, right? And you might be thinking, well, Sejuani can just teleport here on the dive, right? But XL, if she does that, will still maintain teleport here and can send Finn mid into bot, reset the map again, and do the same play again. And now Sedge doesn't have teleport, and there isn't really a counterplay for that. So this is a really, really good way to get advantage, even in the worst case scenario here.
Mm-hmm.
They end up making the pick. They're ahead on the play. Teleport takes a long ass time to channel, guys. We're talking like 7 seconds in total. Sedge isn't there. There's no combo in the game that lasts that long,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
This is a hell of a long time, right? So this is a really good play that they do. It's quite unexpected. Lulu's out. Lulu is the counter to Nuke Duck over here, 2 Nyla diving over here. Like, this composition gets pretty hard countered by Lulu at many points, so they've eliminated that. But it's all because they recognize that they want to play really sacrificial with Finn, and Finn is only going to be as useful as the rest of his team is, right?
Yeah.
Like, Finn drops here, Finn's dropped a ton of CS as well. Sejuani has a good wave for her, but it's a good wave for the Sejuani, right? Like, off this, you prefer a carry to go bot side. Like, you want Caps to kind of catch bot side now. But instead, they end up sending Sejuani, which you could barely see before the replay began.
Yeah.
Yeah, here they start sending Sejuani like straight bot here, to catch the wave from Irrelevant. And it's like, I don't care about that economy if it's just being traded between tanks. I care about the setups they have. They lose the game because they overextend on midsection. But I really like this.
2 minutes later. 2 minutes later.
2 minutes later, they completely cock it up. Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. I just wrote down. You just get too cocky and they get slapped down by G2 because they recognize what was happening there, which is kind of sad to see because it was looking pretty good for Excel up until that point. And
yes,
I
really like the play that they made.
Yeah,
but then they do this dive into the Lulu.
Oh my god,
they
it was
fuck
so
it up. Like, so many things
good.
have actually missed here. I just realized.
Yeah.
Lulu's alive, and now you're hell extended. I also think here Patrick should move down bot side towards the Ornn. But like, there's the thing, right? Ornn isn't involved in this play whatsoever. They were playing sacrificial with him before, but they aren't on this one. So it felt to me like a set play that they made before. And we were talking about their set plays early in the split. They've added new ones to it, and those are always really cool to talk about. But now they kind of have to think for themselves, and it's like, you at least should kite down towards Zeon, if anything. But then Sejuani could interrupt them anyway. It's a whole palaver here. They just had no reason to accelerate this without Zeon. You know?
Nope.
It's such
and they
an
completely whiff
well.
it there.
Yeah, it's such a blower. But this is also where it's like I was saying before. I'm so sorry to keep interrupting you.
It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like we were saying before that like the skirmish team fight teams end up at the top when everyone's just making mistakes all the time, right? And G2 have ridiculously good team fighters on every position, right? Especially Targamas Yanko's Caps, right? So if you're gonna mess up, they're going to take the skirmish, and especially Yankos is gonna have zero hesitation in engaging that, right?
Yeah.
And he's such an experienced player that everybody will respect his engage as well. So they'll all follow in on it. So
yeah, I
G2
mean G2 has
it.
said just like he's the leader of the team, right? And that's
yeah.
you see it in every way, and in these situations is absolutely very good. But talking a bit more about Excel because they also lost against BDS, obviously. They're now on a 4-game win streak. For a 4-game win streak, a 4-game loss streak. Yeah. In the second half of the round robin, they've won 2 games so far. Which isn't very good. And those 2 games were against Misfits and Fnatic, and after that they lost Fatality, Mad, G2, and BDS. Yeah. So that's looking pretty bad, and especially in the game against BDS. I know this wasn't necessarily a game you wanted to talk about, but
we can talk about it.
Yeah. So I think in that game I saw so much. How do you say that? It looked very disjointed what they wanted to do. I made a note. There was like a dragon fight at 20 minutes, and Mickey was playing the Bard here, and he ulted 3 members of BDS. So you think, okay, this is amazing, right? Now you can kill the other 2, and then you turn with your 5 against those 3, and you clean up that fight. But instead, what they do is they keep standing around waiting for those 3 to get out of their invulnerability, while those 2 in the pit are basically stalling the fight because they're incredibly tanky. And then BDS still wins the fight because I think it was Mickey and I'm not sure if it was Patrick there as well. They were just standing there waiting for BDS to get out of their invulnerability, and they just did nothing with okay, doing that again. They did nothing with what was objectively a fantastic Bard ult, and it just seems like they had no coordination there. And obviously losing against BDS is shameful to begin with. I'm sorry, BDS.
It's quite shameful. Yeah.
That's where we are, where we're at, and there's no point in hiding that.
I mean, this is also like a BDS draft where their counter engage is insanely strong, and I have no idea where XO is supposed to play towards.
Yeah.
Like, if I see Gnar picked, I assume that your top laner just wants to kind of skip laning phase. You don't really have to do anything. Gnar's going to be about as useful if you play to him as if you play away from him.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be very useful either way. But you've picked Bard, so you're not going to play around bot side, and this is new Sivir as well, so new Sivir isn't that strong to play around bot lane either. It's just not a very strong 2v2 lane.
No.
And Twitch is a very good counter into that. So I look at this and it's like, why would you ever go Bard here? What are you supposed to do? Like, with your globals here, you're not going to be able to win 3v3 on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you do win 3v3 with Gnar on top side, that doesn't do anything for the game, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the team fights are still going to be if Ornn gets good counter engage on you guys because you guys have overextended or fluffed your ults or haven't understood what you want to do, then you're going to die to Twitch basically insta. And there's so much good counter engage here. Like, you have Renata Glask as well. This is a composition that abuses mistakes, and the exact kind of mistakes that Excel made against G2, they make against this BDS comp, and the same thing will happen.
Yeah.
This is so brain dead that you can't say, like, well, it's BDS. You know, you can't say that here. Like, not with this draft. I also like the prioritization of Twitch. Like, he's being a really good counter into most of the meta stuff for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that we're seeing it more and more.
Yeah. What do you think of the? Because I was a bit surprised by this, by BDS picking Ari when Talia is already on the board, because Talia's E shuts down Ari's ult incredibly well.
Yeah.
So that was a bit surprising to me. What do you think of that?
Um,
Because like Nuclear in game, he was insane. He had such an amazing game on the Ari. He was hitting basically every charm. He was dealing an incredible amount of damage. He was running circles quite literally around Excel. But in the draft itself, I was quite surprised by it. I have to.
Yeah, I mean, Ari is picked for her charm, right?
Yeah.
Not really for her ults. Her ults are really good to get her in a position where she
Mm-hmm.
can use charm. But you have Xin Zhao, Twitch Slow, Ornalt, and Renata everything to set up Ari's charm. Ari's charm becomes a secondary engage here, and you can pretty much guarantee set it up. You're not dependent on your ult to get those charms here. So I think Ari is good here because of the comp BDS has taken,
Right.
rather than that it counters like Talia or something like that. Right? I
Mm-hmm.
think, and you saw this in game. Like, you had Renata Xin Zhao move midsection, and Yuka can't do shit, and it was pre-6 anyway, so you wouldn't be thinking
Yeah.
about Ari, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, so like
go ahead.
here, Twitch resets after resetting bot wave, and limits instead pops pot and moves straight towards midsection. Xin Zhao does Raptors. They wait here with nuclear in, right? And they see New Ducks hugging really heavily. They all move forward. I like that nuclear int just keeps walking, doesn't insta throw charm, because if you keep walking up like this and you have like a hook based champion or something, the enemy has to side to side. And if they have to side to side, you get to go closer because you're just going in one direction the whole time. Right?
Yeah.
So you'll eventually get to a point where you can't miss your charm. Because they played really heavily with this, they end up setting up Nuclear Int anyway. Like, they actually also throw out all of their shit before Nuclear Int does the charm. The charm is a secondary, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different forms of CC. You can get this off and burn Flash without needing to use RE charm because of how many ways they have to set up.
Right.
And this is how Nuclear Int ended up getting really ahead here because, yeah, they've picked RE because the rest of the team can set it up so well, right? And that's how you have to think of RE. Like, RE's always been charm based, not really the ult.
Well, I will say there were a few moments where Excel just walked into her charm. I remember Finn at some point in the bot river just turned around towards 3 enemies and was like, "Here I am. What are you gonna do?" And then nuclear int landed the charm and he died. It was simply abysmal, honestly.
I really hate that there are so many good map movements Finn does, and then there are like instances like that happen. You know?
I mean, overall, I would say he's been a pretty solid top laner this split, but yeah, this wasn't similar to how Odo, I think, last week just ran it down on Gnar. Was it against Astralis, I think? Where he just went 1-6 or something. Just yeah. Anyway, Excel overall. If we look at their schedule, they play Rogue, SK, and Astralis. So not the most difficult schedule compared to others, especially obviously the SK and Astralis one should in theory be easier. But then again, I look at the standings and they are tied with Astralis. So it's such a weird one. The league at the moment, man. I just can't.
I hate it here.
I don't know I just don't know what to say because I can't. Early in the split,
Uh,
we have these developments of teams, and we could say like Excel. We praised their early game, right? Their early game was good, and they bounced it around very well, and they knew exactly how to move their laners around and get and push their advantages. And now, what can you even say? What can you say
I think I
about
may
Excel?
actually have to stream this week.
Yeah,
I might have to do it. Right, it's so close, and it's like Fnatic watch. Like it's mostly gonna be Fnatic watch for me. It's like there's no way that they're actually Like I have to see what crazy shit happens to get them into playoffs this time. But I don't know. It's
well,
especially after this week where so many teams just drop. Like the
yeah,
second day was all upset wins except for upsets game.
yeah.
Um
Like
and
literally, I do these predictions on Twitter every day, right? And
uh
I had one right, and it was G2 beating Fnatic because the rest
uh
was just it's.
uh well, they cancelled it out, right? Like there was going to be an upset win there, but there was upset on Fnatic, and two upsets
Yeah,
make
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
knockout stage.
I saw this as
So
well in Reddit
it all
threads.
works.
Yes, yeah,
It all works.
it all
It's
works
just as
out.
fun.
No,
I
it's
mean, it's I am terrified for Excel now. I actually watched day two from a pub in London called Meltdown,
mm,
where the Excel guys were doing an Excel LEC viewing party,
yeah,
right? Now I remember like
must have
on
been
the
fun.
live play on top, yeah, because I explained to Tim how that top play was working because I could see Finn doing the move from bot to top, right? And I was like,
Tim
this is
for
actually
everybody
really
being
smart.
Tim for everybody. It's Tim Reichert. He's the COO, I think, of
Yes,
Excel at this point. He used to work
yes,
for Schalke. Did a super good job
yeah,
there, obviously.
yes. He used to run Shulker
Yeah,
and
and now
did
he's
well there.
on Excel. So
He was actually my old boss, so it was really good to reconnect
yeah,
while there. I've actually done stuff for him in other splits as a consultant, but like I haven't like properly worked a whole
mm,
season for him or something. But it was
yeah,
good to catch up with him,
yeah.
and
So you were
and
explaining the top play to him. You said,
yeah. So
yeah.
I explained that to there until, but I was at a table with like a bunch of Excel guys, right? And then the mid play happened, and it was like, oh shit.
Ah.
But I also remember them being like, "So where are we at in standings now?" And they were like, "Oh, you know, I mean, we beat BDS. We're still really good in, but I guess we don't really get like top three, top two now. That's much harder to get. It's kind of out of our hands now. Blah blah blah." And it's like, ah, God, I imagine the next day they were all there. I don't know how the mood would have been.
Yeah.
Jesus, they were nice guys.
Oh, I have
Obviously,
no
I
doubt.
asked them. I asked them the obvious question, guys. Don't worry.
I don't want to talk about that, but
And
yeah,
that
it's
guy was not there. All right.
okay,
So
okay,
I just want to say,
okay.
but
I mean,
but the rest of them, they're all nice guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Tim is a very nice guy as well. As
Yeah.
always, if I need anything and I message him, he replies within like an hour. Like crazy.
Yeah.
If I like an interview request or just a comment or anything, you like he's always very
I mean, I
quick
have
to
to
reply.
say the best. This isn't a competition, guys, but like the nicest GMs at least to work with in off seasons for me have been Deficio and Tim Reichert.
Mm.
They've both been really amenable guys. You wouldn't really be able to tell that Tim is a non-endemic when he really is. Like he seems to kind of like get it overall.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean he got
so yeah.
put in charge of the Schalke thing, and he but I wait, wasn't he involved? He was involved with SK at some point at the very start, I believe, a long
His
time ago.
I think it's like his like he was an early investor in it, and his
Yeah,
brother is actually was one of the own like they've had ownership changes and stuff like this,
yeah,
but like it's
I
something like
know.
this. Like it was technically like a family business
Yeah,
really,
it was
really
like
early
the
on.
old
Yeah.
Schrute Commando. He was
Yes.
there.
Strike Commando, some
Yeah,
shit like this. I don't know where it was. But
yeah.
like yeah, way back in the day. There's some
Mhm.
I can't I he told me the story once, but I can't remember it.
Yeah.
He told me that in 2017, which is now 5 years
5 years
ago.
ago. Yep, we're old.
Please.
But if I look at Excel, indeed, at their
I have my 7th anniversary of my girlfriend soon. Jesus.
okay,
I'm so old.
yeah, yeah, I felt old as well a few weeks ago. And it hasn't gotten much better since because I've only grown older since. So, um,
You're
X,
looking good for your age, Volding, man.
I'm
It's all the Horcruxes.
I'm 27. I know I have a baby face. I've always had a baby face, which is at some point why I started growing a beard. Actually, but yeah. Anyway, Excel plays.
Embrace the youngness. Embrace it.
It's fine. Yeah, I mean my hairline isn't exactly going along with it, but we have Excel versus Rogue, which I would presume Rogue would win. Then we have Excel SK and Excel Astralis.
You
And
presume Rogue would win, but I think you want to talk about weird ass drafts.
let's talk about Rogue and their drafts. I mean, so Rogue this weekend played against Mad Lions and SK Gaming. They won against Mad Lions. They won against Mad Lions, which is objectively a very important win for them, and it's very good to see them win that because before this, Rogue was on a 3-game losing streak, losing against G2, Misfits, and Astralis. So getting a win against Mad Lions, perceived to be the best team at that point, is very important for them. Do you have the draft on screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
The way I have it frozen, Odo's face. He's looking at it like, really? I'm playing Ornn for this shit?
Yeah.
Oh man. But I mean, but the mind-blowing thing is that the enemy have first picked Poppy, and then we've gone Pantheon double dive comp, you know?
Mm.
Like, I don't know what Pantheon's supposed to do here. Like, he's doing this into Vayne, into Poppy, into Renata. It's so difficult, to be honest.
Well,
and Talia's not going to be able to do much on the map if LeBlanc plays properly, and LeBlanc's one of Certus's one tricks, actually. He used to play like a shit ton of Akali LeBlanc, I remember. Wow, I'm almost describing Vito's early days, actually.
well, he also had Zoe, so yeah.
But you have like this full-on dive comp. I like the fact that Ashe Ornn are like double range engage. I really like Ashe. If I was in charge of drafts, you would have seen Ashe flex basically every fucking draft really early on in the split. And Ashe mid was something that I actually prepped for an EUN team.
Really?
Yeah.
Mid, interesting.
In spring, yeah. Well, it was going to be Ashe flex, mid and support.
Sure.
Technically NAD as well, but that kind of goes without saying. But they were going to do that at playoffs, and they didn't reach playoffs of the UN, so whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But I still got money.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think Ashe is really, really good in particular though if you want an element of jungle control and you just don't need that hit in the same way that you would if Malwong was going like a farming jungler, right? Like a Karthus or something like this. You know, that's when I think Ashe would be really strong there. But I do like using her for the double range engage that you get with Ornn. And you need range engage into these guys. It's just all of her follow-up can't do anything here.
Yeah.
You know? And they've done Poppy early. So it's not like you didn't know what was about to happen, you know? And I think this was their way around it, but then I just don't understand why you have this pick on Malwong and this pick on Larson. Yes, Talia is really, really strong, but I think you do have to adapt to the situation you see and think maybe you have to go about things a different way.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. I think what I like, like as an aside, I like seeing Pantheon more in the meta. It's a fun champion to watch. It's cool as a jungler because, you know, with the ultimate and you can just say YOLO and fly in and and do something.
Be flying into Vayne Popster, you know?
I definitely
then Renata hits R and it's like, have fun.
No, they just lock him down completely. But I think on SK side, actually, you have so many interesting, because you mentioned the Certus LeBlanc, but Gilius has been playing Poppy, basically, has been his best champion this split. Genox is actually good on Shyvana top. We haven't seen it too much actually in LEC, but the last time he played, he was also performing pretty well with it. And I mean, I don't know if Renata is necessarily super difficult to play, but
he's great counter engage. So now, when every team doesn't know how to play properly, it's quite good.
Yeah. So I quite like what SK was doing here, like from an individual perspective, and how they try to play. But more about Rogue, I think what you also saw, and what's more concerning on Rogue on the team side, is that they had that 4v2 bot dive, and SK's players both lived, and I think it was, I'm not sure who died. Was it Trimby who died? But one of Rogue died there, and it was just unbelievable. It was just such a great summary of the state of EU at the moment, where you're like, okay,
which minute was this?
I Oh, that's a very good question. I'm not too sure actually,
I've
but
got it. I've got it. I've got it.
yeah,
Towards the second round dive. Yeah.
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 So they 4v2 dive and they don't layer it well. There, I think it was Larson missing his combo. There
Well,
we
I
go.
mean, there's a couple of things here. I mean, first, Jezu just eased Marwong away while he's charging up, which is really good.
Yeah.
Um, like this is the issue again with that with Poppy when it comes to engage. Treats doesn't really have to be there, but he's just thinking about keeping Jezu alive here, right?
Mhm.
So him moving up like that, taking all the aggro, I think is fine. But then Malwong goes in before Treats has used Flash. Like, say Malwong doesn't go in here, and all these guys get to keep hitting Treats,
Mhm.
then Treats either dies by trying to hold Flash, or Treats flashes and then Malwong goes in, and Malwong can get the kill, right?
Yeah.
And Malwong does this, so that don't go well, right? Now Trimby is actually still safe here, so yeah, okay, so he's safe here, but then even though the only place someone could be coming from is top side, he just stays top. I don't know why you don't just so going bot here is good, but you should keep. Why? When you think LeBlanc's coming from the alcove? What are we doing actually? Wherever. Okay, so that's how. But where else is she coming from? What? Like I don't know, man. Like even if you want to re-dive, you just fan bot. Like I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
That was this
So
is just like individual mistakes is the really painful part of it. I
yeah.
really hate that. But yeah, go on, go on.
Well,
But I do want to say it's individual mistakes, but also this is one of the harder things to try to dive, right?
sure,
Because of the
sure, but because we've seen Rogue in the past be such a textbook team, they knew exactly what their strengths were, where they could make the plays, and where they most notoriously, maybe had to take a step back, which is how they got the boring moniker, because they were quiet so often and didn't do much. But now we've seen a textbook Rogue fail because I'm not sure. Is this a textbook play? Should they do this in this situation?
they
Um,
do the four-man dive here. I mean, I would say it's textbook because you have mid on an earlier reset than enemy mid,
mhm,
and because of that, you have a roam timing here. You already have jungler parving bot side, so yeah, I think in this situation, given that you have all of this and you have a slow push wave on bot, yeah, you go for the play. It's not a cannon wave that would make it completely textbook, but you can protect the wave and you can go for the dive here with all these timings. Yeah, I think this is
yeah,
fine. This is
uh,
definitely like you should be looking to do a fast play on bot, and you do have burst, so you can do a fast play.
yeah,
But they executed it badly.
yeah, and that's something that I think Rogue was strong with before. That's saying that they're not necessarily going for extremely flashy plays,
Yeah,
but when they make a play, they know that they can do it and they execute it well, and they have an
yeah,
advantage, and then you see them taking that advantage throughout the game.
yeah. I agree.
Um, so yeah, man, I just have so little to say about any of these teams specifically because they're
Well, in terms of gameplay stuff, it gets kind of difficult because so much of it is not like it's not like complex scenarios or tendencies or anything like that. There aren't really team identities outside of Misfits, right?
yeah.
Um, and that was commented on recently, though I do want to point out to everyone that this is the same because people are like the coaching staff should get the thing and blah 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 blah.
Oh
And I
yeah.
agree on that. I think they've deserved it for many splits. I basically gave it to them every year at this point
Mm.
while Candy Floss has been there. But
Carter, man.
just realized Jesse's flash there.
It's Carter. It's
Yes,
Coach
Coach
Carter.
Carter himself. Coach Carter, the man. He used to be called Candy Floss, so I call him
I
that.
know.
Um, that was more for the audience. But yeah, when it comes to I do still remember though. I do still remember that they had the late game team fighting style last split, right? They were like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck it, we scale. Even if they were scaling like with top lane in mind, I still thought it's good that they're scaling. And then come playoffs, they just start doing like mid game Zaya poke comps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even though they got anal on that, I think they got a bit cocky by the fact that they got anal by teams that made the finals. And
Mm.
as a result, they were thinking, oh, it's not so bad. And so then they kept doing it for the early portions of spring, and that just really tilted me that they were
Summer.
still doing like these mid-game spiking comps early in spring instead of just going back to full late game. Like none of this fancy schmancy early game macro shit. You can't do it, right? Like it's demonstrated their mid jungle. Yes, it was Schlatten, but it's also Schlatten when they began their win streak. They got like 4 wins with Schlatten, though.
Mm.
Like they just did not have a mid jungle that could actually play early phase, right? That was just exposed. They needed to have comps that were not dependent on that kind
5
of
wins
shit,
actually.
right?
5 wins.
They got 5 wins with
Yeah.
Sutton. Yeah, yeah. So when they went back to these new comps, that's when things start going really, really well. I don't want to overrate Zanzibar or something. Like, I think Zanzibar had plenty of timing issues before. It's just that on this team, his timing issues don't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
Because they're not trying to do anything but play defensive. I think the biggest difference in terms of map play is definitely being with Mercer. I used to say that Mercer was a guy who was always like 3-4 seconds off. Even if
Yeah.
like the move
Yeah,
was the
you said
right
that
one,
at
he
the
was still
start of
off
the
on his
split.
time.
Start
But
of the
now they
split.
have
Yeah.
him, yeah. But now they have him play really defensive, so those 3-4 seconds don't matter. It's not that he's like improved those 3-4 seconds and become like a sick S tier support or something.
Mm.
They just have him play a very defensive style where they basically hold the vision line with Zanzibar in a very low risk manner. And when they see the enemy fuck up, that's when they go in. Mercer's good in those individual engages, but again, it's the enemy fucking up rather than that he's gotten better on
Yeah.
these timings.
I
You know,
mean,
so
yeah. I think the first week Zanzara came in, he played pretty well. He was a better jungler than Malrang. He was punching Malrang well. Now you could say it's an indictment of Malrang, but also Gilius, he played better than. I think this weekend, he did fall short against Xerxes, but Xerxes has been a super good jungler this split overall.
hmm.
And but how did that game go against Mad Lions that they played actually? This was mad. Oh yeah, the Mad Lions invaded their blue buff. Oh yeah, yeah, and I think the game against Mad Lions wasn't necessarily on Zanzara doing anything special. I think it was rather quiet in that one, but it was Neon was playing very well. And I have to say actually irrelevant as a top lane has been
Oh,
developing super well.
yes, yes,
He's
he's doing very well.
he came in as a rookie, and I think in the first weeks, obviously when Misfits as a whole wasn't
Yes,
looking too hot, he looked quite terrible as well. But now,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't think he looked terrible back then. Again, like for me, a lot of it was just mid jungle. But I do think that I have one worry, which is that he can play these Jack's split push champs. That is his style,
Mhm.
right? They have a style that works for them when he plays tank.
Yeah.
I still think he was individually good on those games. He actually got really far ahead. I remember there was like a 401 Jax game, but they
Mm.
just were bad on the groupings later, and they had a mid game composition where they had to like play very heavy 4-1 with Jax splitting instead of something that all sides could scale and collapse well with. Um, but and they just can't play that style. But
Mm.
when I think about this, and I think this guy is actually an insane split pusher and a really good carry player, but they have him on tank duty all the time. I worry he may go the way of a Rome at some point, where
Right.
a Rome was actually like a Vlad Irelia Fiora player
Mhm.
before he joined
Yeah.
the LEC, and it wasn't even before he joined LEC. It was actually before he joined Splice Vipers. When he was on Splice Vipers had a jungler at the time from I want to say Brazil, but it may have just been Latin America, and I so apologize, but it was from around there,
Mm.
called Tearwolf.
Okay.
And Tearwolf, I don't think this guy knew that there were 3 lanes in the game, right?
Yeah.
I think there was just mid and bot lane for him. So they ended up having a Rome basically only play weak side the whole time. He would still play Vlad Irelia and these champs, but he was never able to make aggressive trades on top side. And it's almost like someone told him not to even bother trying to find windows where he can trade even without jungler presence.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, Orome,
and big,
like later, I think he got put on. He had to carry a few times. I distinctly remember one Jux game where he completely carried and was playing super well.
Yes, but
Yeah.
they were very few and far between, and
Yeah,
as a result,
absolutely.
his carry play suffered overall. And
I
I
mean,
really, and people, the biggest thing is people got the wrong impression of him. People
mm,
thought he was genuinely like a tank only player.
No. But yeah,
I really
I
hated
think they
that.
did as well. But I mean, in the year they had Shadow was like the Lee Sin player, even though Shadow played many more champions than Lee Sin as
Mhm.
well. But that Mad Lions played so heavily around the bot lane, it was very clear that
Yes,
yeah, that was their style. They said it as well, like
yes.
we have four rookies. We're just gonna focus on this style and make that work for us, and they did.
Yes.
They did it. They made it to
No, they
Worlds.
they did, but as a
Yeah,
result, like Arome, the carry player, never really got to develop,
yeah,
and people as a result got a terrible impression of him. And then when he got onto XL Academy in E Masters and he was playing carry again,
yeah,
people were like, "Oh my God, how did he improve so much?" You
yeah,
know? And this was a scenario of like people were ignoring top before,
yeah,
and now they're not ignoring top, and you see what happens with that, right? You
yeah.
want to have a really good example of this right now, right? Is that you end up with an almost opposite scenario with Armor, where
Hmm.
people like because when Arome was on that shadow team, Arome did not look shit, right?
Yeah.
It was when he was against Armut and they were ignoring top, but
Yeah.
Armut's team wasn't ignoring top that people
Hmm.
started complaining about him, so they grabbed Armut, right?
Yeah.
But then Armut, whenever his midsection collapsed, was looking very, very, very bad. And then whenever they played heavy around top, all the praise went to Armut instead. When it was against this kind of like jungle support interaction going on with it. Armut had a pretty bad game, even though their midsection is somewhat sorted. This weekend after they like extended it.
Hmm.
But when I see Irrelevant, I worry that he may end up falling like a Rome did on Mad, and I hope Misfits, if that ever happens, just allow Irrelevant to stay there rather than, pick up the guy that was winning in at Worlds or whatever the fuck
Yeah.
happens.
Well, it's gonna be difficult because he's obviously playing on Misfits and he doesn't have a team after this year. He's basically gonna be a free agent directly because
Well,
Misfits gonna
actually, I have no idea if I
all their
can
contracts
say that.
end, and the Heretics can
Yeah,
choose.
no, I know that
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
I know that about Relevant. I mean, it would be a bit stupid to extend his contract now.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, I think Heretics, because they're buying this up, they can just talk to the Misfits team and say like, okay, like we want to pick you up and pick you up or whatever, or maybe craft their own team, obviously. But
there are 4 world slots. There's a chance that this team goes to worlds,
absolutely,
and when
yeah,
people
a pretty
scout
good
them,
chance actually.
yes, and when people scout them, there's going to be a realization that there is a actual blank hole around topside, right? And I'm worried he'll suffer for that, especially
Mm,
given that he needs to get opportunities next year.
yeah.
I would hope that. I mean, I think if Heretics come in and they look to merge the 2 lineups they have right now, I think they keep Irrelevant from the Misfits lineup for sure, right? I think VTO is going to cost too much, but they should try to at least keep Irrelevant because he is not getting like all the praise right now. But
Mm,
he's very good, very versatile, and he deserves to keep that job. And obviously, disclaimer, like he's with the agency that I consult with. But I still think that he should go there. There are other players on the team as well, and I'm
I
not
mean,
mentioning them.
if
So this
if
is a specific irrelevant thing.
if this roster goes to Worlds and
Yeah.
at Worlds, I'll say it about any LEC team. I don't at this point. I don't expect much from any team at Worlds. But they're probably not gonna perform super well. But think about it. It's gonna be a first Worlds for Mersa, for everybody. I think, right? Yeah. I don't think Zanzara has been at Worlds. No, I don't think so. So it's gonna be a first Worlds for all of them, and they're
Mm.
probably not gonna do super well. But the only change I would see if anybody takes over this roster completely, like realistically, they're probably gonna get a new jungler because they were also already not keen on keeping Zlatan. Sanzara is like emotionally, I guess that's why they subbed them in. It's gonna be the contributor there, but skill wise, there are better junglers you can pick up. So you would look to fill that hole
Yeah.
if you're gonna pick up this
Yeah.
roster. But then again, it's very likely Neon and Vite are gonna get bought by teams with a big budget. I'm not sure if
Yeah. You're not
Heretics.
going to be able to compete on those. I don't think
No,
you should
so
try.
yeah, so that's gonna be a sad part, but it would be disappointing if because
I
a
mean, they can
Neon.
afford to lose them as well. Like they have Jack Spectre on their team. Like they can actually afford to lose
Yeah, but
Neon BTO.
it would be sad, if like
I love Ice Beasto, and I know he can beat the shit out of me, but like he is not he is not that good, you know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, what you were saying as well is, or maybe alluding to, is if Neon and Veteo, like who are the big names for this team, like everybody's talking about those two players. If they are gone, are people still gonna acknowledge the performances of Murta and Irrelevant,
Yeah.
which they should. But
It's not
yeah.
a mischaracterization to say that this is a team that pivots around two carries, right?
No,
That's
absolutely.
definitely
Yeah,
true.
it's true, but
Yes,
you also have to acknowledge the performance that the others are putting in, and
not
yeah.
three dogs
No,
and those two.
no,
Right?
no.
That's the issue because I had seen that sentiment word
Mm-hmm.
for word, like
Mm-hmm.
going around, right? And it's not three dogs and those two, right?
I mean, that's what
It's
people were saying about Mad Lions when they were struggling in spring. It's like,
yeah,
oh, it was all humanoid, I guess. When no,
yeah.
it isn't all humanoid. He's a
No, it's
pivotal
much more
factor. Yeah,
complex. It's always a more complex series of
of
dynamics,
course. Yeah,
right? But Humanoid was definitely a bit like there was a massive component that they lost with Humanoid that they got back with Niski, but like
yeah,
I actually thought El Yoya was like one of the best junglers last split. So but it's not, that's not enough,
no,
that's
no,
not enough.
no.
Um so
So yeah, I mean,
it's interesting to talk about the Misfits lineup actually. I mean I just fuck. I mean, like I began this with like they've gone into this. They did the mid game style again. They've gone to late game. I just
yeah.
think going into the mid game style early on was like such an issue that like
Mm,
that kind of tainted the coaching staff for me. But they come back to their roots, so fuck it. And I can't think of anyone else that I would give it to. So
yeah,
um,
yeah. I mean, in terms of organization, if we talk about them leaving the LEC, obviously they have a bit of history with their almost beating SKT, which they end up not doing. Which had Althari and Hansami, like great big names on there. But afterwards, they didn't do much really. That was their moment, and they also had one of those super teams, right? With like Gorilla and was it Hans on there? I think so. Yeah.
but I did my creme de la creme. I did with that lineup actually. Holy shit! Yes, so this is the super team of
Yeah.
Soaz, Maxlor, Febiven,
Febifen,
Hansama,
hell yeah.
Gorilla.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there are so many players on that lineup that I love.
Mm,
And I was saying, this team is only going to win if Soaz gets Jarvan or Gnar. Otherwise, they ain't gonna win. Alright? And
right.
they had the first 2 weeks they were just winning in general. And then
Mm-hmm.
they always lost unless Soaz had Jarvan or Gnar, or this champion didn't exist when I made the prediction, or Silas. But that Silas game, he was against the Jarvan and stealing the ults to engage with. And the reason I said that, so there are people who used to watch from Elite United and are thinking, oh god, he's going on about this again. But it was so good, alright? Like, the reason I said that was that Soaz had been on a Fnatic team
Yeah.
that had no one who understood how to engage. And
Mm-hmm.
so what they did on that lineup, and Misfits actually prepped for that team as well. We had Hussein on the show at some point and asked him about this, and he was like, oh no, I remember prepping against that Soaz
Yeah.
Fnatic lineup, right? And then they banned Nar Jarvan on that
Yeah.
because Soaz on that, Hussein Musi was the coach at the time. You back then everyone knew his name. He was a really nice guy, by the way.
Mm.
I liked him a lot. Um, so whenever he was on those two champs, he would split into engage, into flank engage over and over again. He had a very good timing of that. But he was the only guy on the team that did that. I knew Maxwell and Gorilla were not good engagers because I always had the theory that Prey was the actual primary engager of Rock's Tigers, and that's why they had to get him on utility AD because Gorilla's engagers were bad.
Mm.
I had statistical proof for this at one point when I was applying to Fnatic, but I ended up joining H2K anyway. And because of this combo, it's like I know this team will not engage
Mm.
unless Soaz does it, and I know how Soaz does it on those kinds of teams.
Right.
So it ended up being so. Even though this was a bunch of people, this is a really good reminder that it's always about the sum of your parts. Because Misfits right now is a team that works really well as a five,
Yeah.
even if they don't have S plus tier players in every position except ADC.
Of course.
And whereas on that lineup, it's like you're an idiot if you don't think they have multiple S tier players. And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
had multiple S tier players on lineup, but as a whole, there were massive strategic gaps in it, right?
Yeah.
And it was predictable to a very specific degree as well. But they just saw like big name, must take. Like, the approach they have right now is really, really good. You don't have to be good at everything. You just have to be good at
Yeah.
one thing really, really well, especially
Yeah.
when the league looks like
Well,
this.
and that's why I guess because if you think back of last year, nobody's gonna remember. Oh, Misfits, the great lineup, but you had Razork who was doing incredibly well. You had Vete who was okay, fine. Like wasn't anything special. But Misfits now is kind of this org that finds like one gem or like two gems, and then they make it work. And that's something that you see other lineups try to just stuff together great talent and not really thinking about it being a puzzle piece.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's failing. And you also have
No,
teams that
it's
are just trying not
yeah.
to work with even a
You,
gem. But
you
yeah,
need to have a workable method of winning the game within the overlaps of all of your players. If
yeah,
in those overlaps you have a workable method of closing the game,
yeah.
then this team works. But if you don't have a workable method there, it doesn't work. But people don't think about it like that, right? People
Mm-hmm.
just think we need better players. I
Mm-hmm.
remember there was some mind-blowing interview Jesses gave once where he said that Misfits lineup we were just describing, the Super Team one, the actual issue, I think he said this on that old Loco show, but I might be wrong. You might have said it on
Listen,
Dom's show.
Loco, you mean?
No, actually, I think he said it on Dom's Crackdown show, but he
Whatever.
said that he
Yeah.
thought the issue with that Misfits lineup is that they just had worse players than the other team.
That super
I'm
team
not
lineup.
joking. Yes,
Oh.
genuinely, he said that they just had worse players. That's it, right? Because he was asked about like strategic stuff and blah blah blah. He's like, no, we just had worse players. They were just 5 worse
What?
players in their positions. Yes, it's mind blowing. No one could ever have predicted you'd fuck
Right.
up the SK.
Imagine if somebody
Right.
imagine if somebody like in half a year says that about this Fnatic lineup. Nah, we just have bad players. Like
They're already trying to say that though. They're already trying to say Humanoid's just the worst mid laner in the league, right? They're already
he
trying to
is
say Razork was really,
objectively
really overrated in Misfits. He's not
sure.
objectively the worst mid laner
No,
in
no,
the
no, no,
league. There
no.
are
But
so
he's
many.
objectively having a terrible split though.
He's having a bad split, but that doesn't necessarily mean that his gameplay itself is functionally worse than it was before. The results of that gameplay are worse, but that's because, again, it's not as simple as I do good or bad if everything else is also falling apart. There are holes in the map that aren't his fault. There are holes in the map that aren't his fault, but they can get mid almost every time off of it.
Yeah.
Right?
But at the
As
same time, we've seen him before that he doesn't use his flash to get out of an engage and thinks he can walk it off and he dies, and then they do it again and he dies again. And this weekend we saw him. He sees a ward being placed in the top bush and he doesn't. He just continues walking in the lane and he gets run down and he dies. Like those mistakes are there. He absolutely did. I think it was the G2 game. Yeah, it was the G2 game, early game.
we have a timing on the second one because I don't remember the ward thing.
I
I don't want to get bogged down on this particular bit, but like what you're saying right now, there will be a point in the future where I feel like you'll regret saying these kinds of things more and more. Because also when you get into these kinds of like specific areas there, a lot of those times it's like I'm not denying that he's playing worse overall. What I am denying is that he's playing significantly worse. I don't think he's playing significantly worse. I think there are just more holes on the map than we were used to on other teams that he's been on.
right. Well, it
I
might
don't
be
think
that because he's playing worse and he is in a bad team that it's just amplified.
It's the first one. It's the first one first, right? Like people can't develop if you're on an objective. But what was the timing you said?
I'm not sure on the timing. It was just it was I believe it was first blood because there was a control.
Wait, the first blood from top lane when
Oh
he got
no,
from
then not top lane. That was a bit later then. But he basically there's a ward being placed. Hang on. Let me know when you found it. Then I say. But there's a control
like
ward.
From this one.
He has a control
Yeah,
ward.
he's a control ward. Yeah.
Yeah, and the ward gets placed there.
Yeah, but look at the wave.
Yeah. Okay. Play it out. Play it out. So he sees a ward being placed.
Yeah.
Stays there.
Yeah. What happens if you just run now?
Huh?
What happens if here? What happens if here you just run?
I mean, not when the ward's placed, you mean?
Yeah, what happens if here you just run?
Yeah, your lane's gonna be in a terrible state.
How bad of a state? Like, when does this get fixed? Your jungler's
When
on
your
Krug's
jungler,
bot
yeah, but
side.
I mean, when your jungler comes from everywhere, but at the same time, like, do you think it's justified then that he dies here?
If you crash this and die, there are many worlds where it's better for you to do that than if you just run away now. I think it's more likely to be better if you crash this and die than if you just run. The real question would be, why is the lane in this state at all, right?
Mm.
Because if he could have avoided it being in this state when he knows his jungler's not going to be able to escort him, then so here's how. Because Silas is able to drag this fucking wave, and Azir has no clue if Pantheon is bot side or not, and his jungler's nowhere near him, and Jarvan's just rolling straight top instead of going mid into top, even though this is a bouncing wave, right? So he has no way to contest this pull that Silas is doing. He has no clue about enemy jungler's position right now, so he can't do anything about this. And because of this pull, he actually needs help expeditiously, but he can't get it because the whole map's just wide open. Like, so he can't contest this pull. Like, this is a huge hole. And there are previous splits where Razork was really good about denying the enemy these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays people know they can just set up shit like this on mid repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in this position, it's like, are you going? So if you run away, you may as well have died because of the amount of economy you're gonna lose. But if you shove in and die, you can at least catch it with the teleport on the next back because Caps has already recalled and TP'd, right? So you can at least just catch it with the teleport on the next. You can maybe even get a roam timing off of that. So I'd be quite tempted to just give my life to try to crash the wave here. He doesn't succeed in crashing the wave, but I can understand why he doesn't just run. Because if you just run, it's most likely way more damaging economically.
Mm.
You know, like there are always loads of things like this. Like I think it's a very there's almost no good option here, right? And like the option where he just runs away, I'd be flaming that as well. I think you should flip it for the crash. But like moreover, I think Jarvan should maybe move midsection here, right? I think maybe Razork should move midsection first, right? One of these things should happen instead. Because this wave has to be fixed after Caps has done that. Also, why is Caps able to do that in the first place? Why do we have such a lack of information, right? All these kinds of questions are much more prescient to me. But all of these get lost in the reads for sure. And like maybe I look at all of that and I just think, oh, actually, Humanoid made an even bigger fuck up earlier on. But it's rarely on the deaths where there is the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point. It's
It's like you're
almost
walking
entirely in
into a
this game on the
funnel, and at the
setup.
end of the funnel is death.
Yeah, and it's like what created that funnel, and for Fnatic, as like we were saying before, it's like a team based thing, you know, like there is
Oh
almost
yeah, and
something.
I have no doubt that there could have been, but with what I'm seeing, and it's also again with being disjointed with the rest of your players. I don't know. I think he's having a very bad split overall, and that's not to say that he's suddenly a bad player. Don't get me wrong, right? Because that's what
He's getting heavily scapegoated because there are people in this team that just won't get criticized. But so people need like Razor got scapegoated last split, even though he
yeah.
was objectively a top two jungler last split.
Mm.
This split he's not, right? But he's been very open in interviews that he's trying to change his playstyle for some reason, right? It's like this is a super team, and it will remain a super team that just did not work because the sum of its parts demanded strategic things that are just not good. Right. And as a result, the map's just not good. And I hate that I can already see it beginning where people are just like, no, this individual guy just became the worst or something like this. And it's like that basically never happens. Right? I don't think I've ever seen that actually be the case once you get down to it and once you start watching the VODs. You know? It just doesn't fucking happen. But it's really easy to repeat it over and over and over again. And there's so many people who know better that are repeating it over and over. I'm not saying about you right now. There's so many people who are
It's
just
fine.
do know better, but are saying it over and over again. You know, because it benefits them to do so for other reasons. And I fucking hate that because these people's careers live and die by it.
Yeah. No, I don't have much to gain by criticizing or praising anybody in particular because I'm a neutral viewer. But to me, it seemed that like quite a few times, like, and it is. I'll concede that deaths are more easily ingrained in your mind because like, oh, he's dying again, and he's dying here, and he's dying here. Then when it doesn't happen, or when you like, for example, if he hadn't died here, um, or like if maybe the gank wouldn't have happened at all, from G2.
I mean, I could go
Then
back
then
in the
then
log, and there
people
are
then
probably so
people
many other
wouldn't have
things.
said like, but people wouldn't have criticized him for the lane being in such a bad state where he had to be so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely true. That obviously when a death happens or when a kill is made, that's the excitement in League. So that's what you remember.
I
But
remember, yeah, I mean, I remember with Vito. Vito was making way more mistakes last split, but people were literally calling him like MVP, best mid in the league. Oh my god,
he
literally the
won
next cat, blah
MVP
blah
and
blah.
best mid in the league. So
Yes, like, but people were doing this because it's like, even though literally the only demonstrable really good skill he had was last hitting, the team fights were going really well. So people were just really high on him, and then they stopped picking team fight comps, and then everybody was like, "Hang on a second, why is he suddenly so bad?" And it's like, you can only, if you're only seeing the game in terms of like kills, deaths, I can understand why you're seeing
yeah.
this. But my issue right now is not with like the average person saying this, it's with all of the people who encourage it, because they would rather just get a shit ton of clicks on Twitter and a shit ton of views and shit like this,
I
and as a
mean, I
result,
mean, let like
yeah,
I'll say like I posted on Twitter. I think it was Saturday. I said something because Neon was popping off again. I said like, if Neon doesn't get into any of the All Pro teams, I swear to God, like something like
yeah,
this. And
I
people,
agree with that.
yeah. I mean, he obviously deserves to be in the top three. So
Yeah,
but people started arguing underneath that who would be in there and who wouldn't be in there. And just as a disclaimer, I have, for the past years, I've been able to cast an official vote on the ballot as a media member who covers the LEC. And now we already have the option of selecting our votes, but they won't be locked in until next Monday, just to give us a bit more time maybe to play around already and to think about what we might want to vote. But for me at the moment, it's very difficult. Actually, we talked a bit about the all pro teams in the positions before the show started, but it's pretty clear to me that Upset is not going to be in an all pro team. He's not been playing well. Like he's been playing fine, but I think
that's being a good, accurate description of Upset's play in general, though. Like, it's fine, and when they do get to play heavy around him, they have a fed AD. But even in those games, it didn't feel to me, and I don't even think it bore out statistically that he was doing the most damage. Like, I
so.
remember at one point, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, go on.
I'm not sure about this, but if I look at consistency over the course of this split, and now obviously Fnatic has a situation where all of their players are underperforming, right? But Upset is not absolvent of any criticism, because if I look at a player like Comp has been playing better than Upset. Patrick has been playing better than Upset overall. Hang on, who else do we have here? Just Unforgiven has been playing better than Upset this split. So I don't think Upset is going to be in there, And I saw this argument, and I think people are very latched onto Upset because he can stand out very well.
Yeah.
And I think he deservedly got a lot of praise last split, because he and Hilly were just, during the regular split, were both playing super well. And Upset was managing the waves very well, so Hylissang could go for these roams, and that was definitely the case. But this split, neither of them is playing well. And yeah, I don't know. To say that, I see some people say, oh, Upset is falling because the rest of his team is falling. No, they are collectively underperforming. Fnatic is underperforming.
Yeah, I think the team as a whole is. I also disagree that like Upset was managing the wave really well for Hilly to do roams last split, because last split Hilly only really did roams on champs like Pike, and in those games
He
I always
played Pike
remember.
like 4 games, and he played Zillion, and he was roaming still.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah.
but well, on the Zillion roams they were always on lane swaps, so Upset was involved in those roams. But with the Pike roams, he literally won the lane level 1-2. And then you're not really managing the wave. You're just pushing and roaming at that point, Because
He wasn't always pushing. He was also keeping it safe on the tower.
opposite.
Like.
Because the wave was pushed into the tower off the bounce back that they got by winning
Yeah, yeah,
2v2.
yeah, but I mean, what you want
Whereas,
from an AD carry then is to not be an idiot, and he wasn't.
but if you want to see an example of somebody demonstrably managing the waves well, and not just in the normal manner that people do, which is not just insta shove when the wave is crashing into you.
Mm,
Reckless, when he was with Hillisang, was literally 1v2 for extended periods and fixing the wave state solo 1v2 for extended periods when he was with Hillisang, when Hillisang was having his MVP split. That was mind blowing to me, and I hate that we don't have pro views from back then because that was insane watching him do that, and I haven't seen that kind of a thing, right? Which really annoys me because I feel like the way people flame Reckless,
yeah.
that's valid if you said that about Upset.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not valid if you said it about Reckless. Not talking about like the behind the scenes personality stuff. I won't like comment on any of that stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, like people always had this idea Reckless was like some sort of giga passive player or something. When I saw this guy literally 1v2ing all the time, it was so nuts actually watching him play.
Right. I think also the Reckless thing came off of team fights where he would be more conservative in terms of wanting to go for
He had
engagement
higher,
stuff.
yeah, but he had way higher DPM than Upset ever did.
Yeah, I mean,
Upset was like really low
so
last as well.
so here's the thing, right? Upset definitely deserves to be in LEC with his quality of play. He's a solid bot laner, but this split, you can't say that he is suffering as
I'm
a
not sure
result
I'd
of.
say he was conservative, by the way, because I also like people. I'm sorry, but people like flip flopped on the Reckless. I'm sorry, I'm defending Reckless, and I swear to God, it's not for K Corp guys. But like, I also remember when Reckless was on G2. If he ever did something where it's like, if I get this kill, we win for sure.
No,
Like
yeah,
the
no.
Vayne thing,
On
people would
G2,
flame him for it.
yeah, no. But hang on G2, I think because I also watch it. I do think that and this is something that the Fnatic have said as well. You know, on Fnatic, it was I think Reckless and Nemesis back then. They didn't want to engage in some fights, and you had Whippo and Hildesang who did want to go in, and you had Selfmade running around doing his own thing. That's how the Fnatic team described how that dynamic went.
Except there was plenty of games where that Fnatic lineup had two different forms, and one was where they played heavy topside for Whippo, and the other one was where Whippo basically he could just go die or something, and they played heavy around Reckless on something like Kai'Sa, and he would play these champions. He was the only AD doing this with teleport all the time
Yeah.
because he was TPing in and basically fucking engaging on Kai'Sa, on Tristana, on these champions. He was an incredibly aggressive player on these champs, and I feel like people were just
I mean,
blind
on
when he was
Kaisa
doing
you
this.
have to be aggressive. Like, there's no way around.
You have to
Yeah.
be. I've never seen Upset do that on Kai'Sa, and he played loads of
Does he
Kai'Sa.
play Kaisa this year?
He was the guy that got the pentakill on Kai'Sa and lost the game.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. But this year, I don't think he's played. He's played a lot.
No, because he doesn't do that playstyle very well.
And also Kaisa hasn't really been
Whereas
played.
Reckless is very aggressive on that kind of champion.
Kaisa
Like think about Reckless Champion. Reckless Champion was like Sivir, Tristana,
Yeah,
Kai'Sa. These are all in aggressive champions, and he played them all in and aggressively. This guy would flank and jump into team fights, kill someone, and jump the fuck out. He would actually do that shit. But people I swear to God, guys, I'm not lying. Like, go back and watch his games. Like, this is actually what's happening when you watch the games, and it's so mental to me that people have just forgotten about this.
Yeah. No, this year he hasn't played any Kaisa yet. Upset at this.
I mean, Kaiser's not very good right now. You would.
No. I mean, it was like a little bit at MSI. We saw Flacket played, right? He played well, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's the thing about like for me with Upset. Like he's a fine ADC, and I think in the right circumstances he definitely plays his part very well. But I see people saying this split that he's some kind of I don't know some martyr or something when the rest of Fnatic is fighting, but he's definitely not play well
I mean,
either.
no one is like removed from criticism for them, and no one's above criticism for them. But also, I don't think it's anyone's individual issue. It's
No,
the
absolutely not.
playstyle they try to do.
This is just a team that's not working together. That's it.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Well, it's not. The dynamics are obviously complex, and if you want to solve it, it's very difficult. But yeah, I do actually want to talk about a team that seemingly has come together, and that's Vitality. Because Vitality, for the first 4-ish weeks, we were saying, okay, this is going nowhere. what's happened. But now I have to say they're performing well. And
I was just checking DPM stats by the way because I thought Neon was on top again. I wanted to see what Upset was. Upset is above Gadget, by the way, guys.
oh,
And Kazi is actually number one in DPM right now.
huh,
And like I
interesting.
don't recall Mad Lions games taking that long. So yeah, like full disclaimer, like DPM is heavily inflated by average game time,
Of course,
right? So like the Fnatic BDS 40-minute long game, if you get that, then suddenly you're gonna get really high DPMs on their AD carries, right?
right.
But like I don't recall Mad Lions having like super long games or something, but Kazi is not Mad Lions, Vitality
Vitality,
having
you mean?
super long games or something,
Mm,
but Kazi is like at
no,
the top. They're
no,
both yellow and Kazi's being on both of them, okay guys?
sure. Anyway, can we talk about Vitality now?
Yeah. I'm just
Awesome.
saying Kazi is
Yeah,
actually number one in
yeah, yeah,
DPM. Like he's had a really, really good split as
yeah.
well outside of that stat. I was just
Yeah,
really
it's been
surprised
it's
to
been
see
fun,
that.
but I think in the first weeks you saw Karzi and Labrov still not having that synergy nailed down in terms of how to play the lane. But now, and I think Labrov is also individually in terms of what he does is playing better. They seem to
Yeah.
be more proactive in what they want to do. I had an interview with Althari where he said, they're not really calling for help or anything, when they need help in the lane. They're just very passive, but it seems like they're more proactive as well.
Mm.
And Haru, I mean, Haru is in the
Trundle
first
one
weeks.
trick.
Uh huh. What did you say?
Trundle one trick.
Chondo one trick. I mean, if it works, it works. Like we were praising,
Yeah, it
we
works.
were
It works.
praising Wunder when he was playing Graga super well. So why not praise Haru if he's playing Chondo very well? So,
Facts.
um, I think Haru in the first week would say, okay, he's just farming. It seems like he's doing not much to help his team early on. And they said as well the early game was weak. Now this guy's invading jungle. He's punishing. He's ganking at the right timings. I see him everywhere, and he's doing it super well. And it all of a sudden you see this team. It's like glue. It's sticking together now, and it's not perfect by any means, but it's the vitality that we had hoped to see quite a while ago. And it seems like for them, swapping a jungler, maybe they would have had the same result with Selfmade. Now, we will never know, but at least subbing in Haru and given the progress they have made in the past few weeks, that's working out for them. So props to them, and it's actually pretty exciting to see because this is a lineup with very potent players if you look at it overall.
I mean, so I didn't necessarily view Haru as like not proactive. I was very critical on many wave states that he just wasn't giving a shit about and doing
Mm-hmm.
nothing about.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of the times where the game exploded against Vitality is because Haru was trying to do something and was just out of timing on it. I actually think the biggest difference I see now is perks. Individually, like I think
Really?
yeah, because I think for him going to Talia, Ari, these kinds of champs where you can insta wave clear into move
Mm-hmm.
is really, really strong for him.
Yeah.
And he was not just backing up Haru, but in the G2 game, I believe he was making like heavy plays to top side as well. Um, yeah, he was. Yeah, so he's making these plays without Haru even being active on the same side of map,
Mm-hmm.
right? And accelerating the game. So there are a lot of aspects where I feel like, and I'm pretty sure he joined the dive on the early BDS game, not dive, the invade on the early BDS game as well. Like there are loads of ways that I think Perks is facilitating the map here. That Haru is benefiting from. I also think that there is now discussion going on with them behind the scenes. This is not like behind the scenes info. This is just assumptions from what I've
Sure.
seen
Sure.
Haru do, where they're like, what is our early game, like first 5 minutes plan,
Mm-hmm.
and they're talking about the jungle scenario as like a team rather than just like, we'll draft and it is what it is. Because there are a lot of like you're saying invades, but these are like level 1, level 3 invades that can definitely be planned
Mm-hmm.
before the game.
Yeah. I
um
mean, don't get me wrong; it can be
Perks
planned,
is a
but
huge
it's
part of those.
happening. You
Yeah,
know.
it's happening. No,
Yeah.
but I also saying like Perks is a huge part of these as well when it's
Oh.
actually on the ground,
Yeah.
and a huge part of the map itself in ways that Haru isn't right now. He's doing these independent of Haru. So when it comes to jungle specific things, it looks to me like a plan like a planned team thing, but when it comes to Perks roamings, those are in the moment decisions
Yeah.
Perks is making. You
Okay.
know, these are the fundamental differences that I'm seeing right now. But yeah, I really like how Perks is doing on that synergy thing. Kazi also had that with Kaiser as well, I remember, where you could like see one of them would start moving forward as the other one's clicking back, and it's like you guys are literally have two ways of playing in mind, and you get that again with Labrov. The thing with Kazi though is that generally when I see the click back and the click forward from Kazi's actually correct, and
Mm.
then in playoffs they both do it. You know,
Yeah.
that's the pattern that was happening every time, which is why I was never as hard on Kazi as others, and I would always bet on Kazi when it comes to playoffs, and he's
Oh
always
yeah, I
performing in
mean
playoffs.
in playoffs the guy is always like you
Yeah,
can see
but,
it when it matters.
but
This guy steps up absolutely.
yeah, like I wouldn't say that it's maybe he steps up in comms, and I've heard that he was actually calling like team fights and stuff at one point in Mad Lions, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
But like I don't think his gameplay steps up. I think he's just started to leash his support like a dog at that point, and they've both
Okay.
realized these step ups are good. You know,
Yeah.
like because I've rarely disagreed with the decision he's made to step up, but only in the sense that he breaks the line with his support and basically 1v2s it, you know?
Right.
That's normally where it goes badly for me. In Labrov's case, sometimes he catches flack because that will happen, and then Labrov will go in after the play's basically over to try to make up for not being there in the first place and die, you know? Um, but I agree with you, this is starting to happen earlier. This is
Mm.
happening earlier,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're having these conversations earlier. They're going in as a 2v2, and you're seeing the Kazi Labrov that you normally only see in playoffs.
Yeah.
And I really like that about them.
Yeah. And overall, it's good. Obviously, they did lose their game against Astralis, which was quite funny because Alfari was on Euphoria last week, and I posted this clip on Twitter after they beat
Mm.
BDS because he's chuckling about having to play BDS and Astralis, and then also about not having to underestimate them. Obviously, it's then incredibly funny if it backfires and they lose against Astralis. But before that, they beat G2 XL in Misfits, direct playoff competitors with them in the middle of the pack at that time
Yes.
as well. So those are very good victories to get. And as you said as well, like if Haru is the Trundle one trick, well, who cares? You know, like if you're getting the wins, and if you're finding that stability now in your team, that is the most important part because other teams are not finding stability. So if you can find any, that's a big win for you, right? So
mean, there's so much experience on this lineup, and they're all
oh,
very, very
yeah,
strong
yeah,
team fighters, right?
yeah,
Like, they're very good team fighters. So if they just get that early shit down, it should be home free for them. Like, this is
yeah.
another one of those, no, guys, this is a super team thing, right?
I mean,
Especially if they sub in Bo.
so
Like,
yeah, oh yeah. At some point, he got rank one on EOS.
yes.
Now
Well,
it
he's the
doesn't.
only. Well, he's the only fucking guy that high up in the ladder who doesn't have to do scrims.
Yeah,
So yeah.
exactly. But at the same and also scrims don't necessarily or like a solo queue doesn't necessarily translate to anything on stage, right? So we'll have to see about that. But what was I gonna say now? Damn, I forgot my point. Thanks, dude. uh, what was it about team fight? We were talking about team fighting.
I hate that I look at these last games they won, right? They beat G2, XL, Misfits, and Fnatic, but they lost to Madden Rogue, and I'm still sat there thinking, this is the core. Because Fnatic are a playoffs team.
Oh yeah, right. No, you
I
were saying.
just feel it.
I remember. I remember what I was gonna say because
Ah,
you said it was a super team. Well, I think in spring it definitely was a super team because you had like four incredible players and you had Labrov. Now you've also like subbed in Haru, who I would say if you start him at the start of the year, you wouldn't have like call it a super team. Um, this lineup, I don't think you would.
what, with Haru?
Yeah, with Haru, you wouldn't have called it a super team because the super team narrative is all about okay, these are the best in their role or like the top tier in their role, and Haru was like would not have been regarded top tier
Well, at
jungler.
the start when we were doing our tier lists, I just had Haru and can't assess because I just haven't watched Haru.
No,
But
but I
the
mean like in
way
general, like super team narratives get started about like who's the best player in their position and stuff like this, right? Like
Yeah, but like I remember on Twitter, like Dom, Forrester Vin, all these guys were talking about Haru like he was like nuts, you know?
Okay.
Wait, actually, wait, no, I'm thinking about Bo, no? Was Haru the guy from X7?
Yeah.
Yeah, then never mind. Then I probably wouldn't have put him
Bo
on.
Bo was like Bo is still
Yeah, no,
like
I'm
he's
thinking
gonna
about
be the
Bo.
god, you know, he's gonna clap everybody so
Yeah,
hard,
also, I
yeah.
mean, well, in fairness, Haru got like really hyped anyway,
Oh,
by
he
a lot
did
of
get some
people.
hype, but you
But
wouldn't have called it a super team. Maybe
I mean,
With Bo you could
I
say it's a
don't.
super team.
I would not say that one person not being S on the lineup means it's not still a super team.
No, it's then two because we already had Labrov. Like at the start of the year,
Oh,
people.
I still had Lobrov rated high.
I think Labrov is good as well.
So for me, it's still a super team.
I don't know. I think Labrov would you've said like an A among the others, but anyway, it's a moot
Yeah,
point.
I mean, Lobrov A. It's still like you don't really get teams where well, I guess I mean by some people's ratings, the team is like first they must all have A tier players. But if you look realistically, you don't really get teams with all like AS players. But then you could argue on moving goalposts there. But like I mean, I still think Lobov's good. And this definitely last split when it was made was a super team with Lobrov. Last split I definitely had Lobrov that high. Where he was like a potential S player, right? With self-made, it's definitely a super team.
Yeah.
So it's just like the Haru thing.
I don't know. It's semantics a bit, I guess, but
it is. I mean, this conversation. I don't
it's
really
all
care
it's all
about,
semantics,
like,
but it's interesting because there's no doubt that this is gonna be or Fnatic's team is gonna be the last super team we're gonna see in the LEC because people are gonna try it again at some point. They'll think, oh, but this time it might work. I don't know. Probably not because it's not been working out very well. But Vitality making that progress was very good to see. I'm just I'm not sure if they're going to be able to extend this into playoffs again as well because it is a different environment and obviously they were very close. Well, they had a very close win against Excel in the Spring Split playoffs with Selfmade, and now like I guess they have pretty decent seeding actually based on the performance. Yeah, they should finish pretty high actually if we assume again that everything is 50-50 heading into the second week. And they then have a pretty decent amount of championship points, so I think they'll be upper bracket actually. In quite a few cases because Fnatic might not even make it, so
I just feel like they will.
Yeah. But
why?
I don't know. So I don't know what I hope for Vitality they can recover from that loss against Charlotte. They should. I don't think they're gonna take it too hard because they'll probably say like, okay, we just maybe we're too cocky or whatever, and then they'll get back on the grind. So I'm not too worried about it actually. Who do they play? They play upcoming weekends. Hang on, why can't I find it now? I'll just type LEC schedule.
Didn't the manager fuck, what's his name? I even worked with him at one point. I can't even remember his name.
Do you mean the team manager?
Fnatic team manager, yeah.
Stewie.
No, the general manager. I mean.
Oh, general manager. Oh, hang on. So they're playing SK, Fnatic, and Rogue.
The guy where they ended up memeing the formula thing. But that guy, he went on Esports Maniacos. Did you see this?
No.
So when Fnatic main team and Fnatic Barcelona were both on win streaks, he went on Esports Maniacos because Esports Maniacos on their tier list had rated Fnatic quite low.
Okay. Heading into the summer split, you mean?
Fnatic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In summer split, in this split, right? Yeah. So he went on the show. Apparently was like super cocky and was flaming them and blah 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 and saying how they like weren't believing and etc and blah blah and they were just gonna smash it all and he was like gloating them because on their tier list they'd said that they were really low, but at that point the Fnatic main team and Fnatic the Kesso team were both doing really really well. After that, Fnatic Kesso went on such a loss streak that they didn't make playoffs. And they had like an almost perfect split the split before, right? And now the main team is almost out. Ow!
Yeah.
It's like it was the biggest curse ever.
I don't even
Actually.
know how that La Formula got started, but I've seen it. Obviously, it's been the Fnatic thing, right? With
Yeah, they
they
were
with
5-2,
yeah
and then they just lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row.
yeah
Fuck me, actually.
the
How do you curse your team so
tied
hard?
tied for the longest loss streak in Fnatic League of Legends history.
Now that
And they
actually
got
you should be proud of, by the way. If a 5 loss streak in your entire organization's history is significant, that's actually insane, given that this
oh
might
yeah
just
yeah
be
yeah
their
yeah.
season 3.
What you maybe shouldn't be
Holy
happy
shit.
about is that it got broken by a winning SBDS, but you know,
Probably not.
it wasn't. Yeah,
That's a technicality. No one will even understand what that means in the future. It's
exactly,
still
exactly,
good.
exactly. So, anyway, is there any other team you kind of want to talk about? We've talked about actually all of them, I guess, in some way already.
We haven't talked
Um,
about Astralis at all.
I mean, a bit. We talked about.
I agree. We don't need to talk about them. It's all good.
I kind of don't want to talk about Astralis actually because to me, I still don't think they're gonna make playoffs. But what I've said in my own like my LEC preview videos as well is that I expected them heading into the split to be kind of spoiler by taking some wins of teams, you know. But because
Yeah.
everybody has been so terrible, they've been performing quite well
I
actually.
mean, these have been big time, just individual errors or losing them games kind of deal.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but their win came off the back of a really good Kobe performance on Twitch, and it was this on Twitch
yeah,
counter engage
yeah,
thing again, right?
yeah,
So I really like that. But that's like so brain dead anyway. Like they beat G2 with that lineup,
yeah,
with that with
yeah.
that composition. So, um,
I mean,
but
it's
yeah,
it's it's good, you know. It's good for them obviously to see. It's also good that I think if Astralis had performed worse, people might not have been excited about individual good plays that Xerxes is making. I think Dajor, if you compare this split to his previous split, massive leaps in terms of improvement. Um, I'm not sure if, like, people are just excited about Jonghoon because, he's mysterious South Korean support player nobody knew what's going to expect. And then on Pike, he was incredible. He had that Bard game.
not this
Um,
weekend, not this weekend.
no, not this weekend. So I'm not too sure about that one. But it's only his first split, so who knows about that. But individually, Astralis are showing up on the day. Sometimes that's what their strength is. They have Xerxes as I guess the constant, but then it's like a Dajor or a Kobe or sometimes
Yeah,
a Jonghoon performance. Chachi is not playing well this split,
yeah.
but
I'm still super impressed by how much Xerxes and Dojo have improved.
yeah,
I'm really, really impressed by that,
yeah,
and I'm happy for him.
yeah. All right, I kind of want to do like we're mostly very serious as a show. Obviously, we talk
Okay.
very very seriously, but I kind of want to do a playoffs. Who's gonna make playoffs prediction? Because
Ooh.
why not? And it's very
Oh
difficult.
God, man. I just feel like Fnatic gonna make it. This is a terrible time to ask.
All right, so Medline's already locked in. We don't need to talk about this one.
I predict mad.
You okay? Well done, amazing. If I can then do the other one, I said I think BDS is not gonna make it. So there we go. We have those two out of the way.
We're so good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's already 20% of our league predicted. So that's
Okay. G2 Misfits Rogue Vitality. I predict all of those.
G2 Misfits Rogue Vitality. And then we have 5. You need to, is that Fnatic for you? Because that's the one. It's Excel, Astralis, Fnatic, and if you want to go out on a limb, it's gonna be SK. Because I also feel very confident in G2 Misfits Rogue Vitality. Now, don't get me wrong. There are scenarios in which Rogue gets 9th.
Oh,
In a worst case scenario. So.
I think.
Let's start.
Man, I can see it. I predict Fnatic officially. Fuck it.
Really?
With no logical basis except that I just feel like they will make it.
Man, imagine if they don't though. I mean, we've
Imagine
talked about
Excel doesn't make it, man.
with
Holy
with the
shit.
lineup that they've invested in as well. In the start, they had to this split.
Oh god.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule. Excel is
I just
playing
feel like they
Rogue,
will.
SK, and Astralis. Fnatic's playing Astralis, Vitality, and Misfits.
Logically, XL make it. The
Yeah.
brain says
Logically,
Excel, but the heart says Fnatic.
Logically, it is Excel. It's so difficult though. It's actually crazy how difficult it is.
Here's
Because
the scenario I see
it's
where
Fnatic Astralis in the first one, and if Astralis wins that one already, they are in a so much better position.
That's the thing. I think Astralis can't win that one. And because of that, alright, if Fnatic beat Astralis, they're gonna suddenly be in such a hyphy mood, right? That they will just insta-stomp, right? Vitality will not know what's coming at them, right? They will just insta-stomp them
Right.
off of their fucking hype that Yamato will like pump them up and shit, you know? He's gonna like I swear he's gonna like they're
But the
gonna
thing
be on
is,
so
they
much
lost.
caffeine going
But
into
they lost
Vitality
against
Fnatic
G2,
mentally,
so
you
they're
know?
in a bad mood now. And they're under stress, and we know like stress can get
No,
this team.
but they've had a week, all right. They'll surprise themselves by beating Astralis because Astralis will just beat themselves. I just watched Astralis beat themselves twice. That's why I don't want to talk about them, all right? Because they just suckers themselves, right? Well, I mean, they lost when they lost to Misfits. They were just individually bad. They'll lose to Fnatic off that because Hylissang will just make picks on them perma with it.
You
right?
know what?
And then
Just
Yamato will be like, "We can do this, boys. It's gone." And then they'll fucking do it, man. They'll get Vitality insta, and then Misfits will be shaking in their fucking boot. Right? And Fnatic will just bitch slap the shit out of them. They don't even have to beat Misses at that point. But I think they'll just get so hyphy off of the Astralis win that they'll beat Vitality and be in. That's what I think is going to end up happening. Like, there's no real logic. I mean, there's a thought process, but I wouldn't call it logical. Logically, Excel should win. I don't know. Like, I just see that world where Fnatic do that. Whereas I see the opposite world where Excel lose to Rogue and are so fucking demoralized that they manage to lose to Dog Ilias himself, the alpha, the man who always shows up when it counts, even though normally he's out by that point.
So here's my reasoning. So I think Excel is gonna lose to Rogue, same to you. Then they play SK, and then they play Astralis. Now, if Astralis wins against Fnatic, they are gonna be on such a hype, and then they play against Mad Lions, they might lose that. And then on the final day, it's Astralis against Excel.
They lost, but they lost to Mad Lions, so they don't get the momentum, you know. Whereas mine has straight momentum from Fnatic, Astralis to Fnatic.
But they're probably gonna lose against Vitality though, Fnatic.
No, because they'll be hyphy from the Astralis. Do not.
I mean,
you can doubt every plan. You can doubt one.
I mean, Fnatic has the plot armor.
You can doubt Humanoid. You can doubt Upset. You can doubt Hylissang, but do not doubt the power of high as fuck levels of testosterone coming off the Astralis win. All right, high T beats every fucking logical sentence.
I'm gonna go. Right? I'm gonna go.
They're gonna win.
I'm gonna go with this.
Fnatic. I lock Fnatic.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Astralis. I'm actually gonna go with
Astralis
over Excel and Fnatic. With over Excel and Fnatic. Yep, absolutely.
Can I have you on stream for the Fnatic Astralis game?
Well,
I'll actually stream. Like, I have to have you on for this because it's all gonna. Our predictions are all gonna come down to Fnatic Australis.
Yeah, that should be possible. It's Friday. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, let's do it.
See you, Tim Mycart, by the way. Like, zero votes for you. That's just gonna be Excel. I like how we both accepted Excel's the most they have the easiest gameplay route, but we're like, fuck it, all right. Astralis, Fnatic.
I mean, Excel is also on a 4-game loss streak. You know, just saying.
They are.
Astralis so far has picked up at least one win in the past 4 weeks.
So... Let me ninehead this. Excel on a 4 loss streak, right? That means they're the least likely to maintain their playstyle based on the last 4 games, which means that they are the hardest team to count, which means Rogue has no fucking clue what's about to hit him, alright?
Let's do best in the West.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
How do you always forget? How do you always forget that this part's coming? I mean, I'm gonna give it to Neon, so it's fine.
I mean, I want to give it to Neon as well, so...
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the team's performance, it's just, it's Neon.
I mean, I'm more confident about my tier list the more weeks go by, so...
Yeah, they're shaping up pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if even you thought that it would be as such of a chaos in the LEC though. But
I mean, I thought LEC was getting worse. I definitely did not think Fnatic would be in a position where they don't make. I mean, I still feel like they make it, you know. But like,
I'm gonna go with the
I
Sonic.
definitely, if Fnatic don't make it in, I had no expectations about that happening. That definitely, I didn't. I mean, I mean, you look at this and you think it's kind of like a lock, right? That it's like BDS won't make it, SK won't make it, Astralis won't make it, and then you're gonna have a rat race at the bottom there. But you wouldn't expect Fnatic would seriously be part of that. You could definitely think XL would be a part of that. You could definitely think Vitality could be a part of that. But I wouldn't think it would be like Fnatic aren't just a part of it. They're like,
Yeah.
they're almost definitely not making it. Like I would never have thought that.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
they're in a bad spot for sure. But I'm looking forward to actually being on your stream then to live watch the game.
yeah, for sure. That's
I'll
always a banger.
I'll be there. I'll be there, and we will be back next week as well. I'm not sure if we're gonna be on the same day release because obviously after next week I think there's like a week break before playoffs start, and next week we can actually maybe also talk a bit about
Yeah.
our all pro teams and stuff like this.
Yes, I
Yeah,
want to do like because normally I end up doing like a pre-playoffs tier list as well with only the playoffs teams and players.
yeah.
So, like we can definitely do a
I
show
mean,
like that, right?
yeah, we can do a show. We can do a show somewhere in the middle or whatever. We'll figure it out and we'll let you guys know what's
Yes.
gonna happen. But for today, that's the show. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any thoughts about who you think is gonna be was the best in the West, or who's gonna make playoffs, jump in with your predictions. Veteran is choosing Fnatic. I'm choosing Astralis because you know
The
I'm
heart wants what it wants.
a heart wants what it wants, absolutely. And my heart just wants complete destruction of everything in the LEC. And if Excel and Fnatic both don't make it, I think that's pretty much as close as you're going to get because both of these teams have done a lot of investments in this year. But again, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more content like this. And see you next time.